millennial pause, please? Thank you.
Menopause?
You don't know what the millennial pause is?
What is the millennial pause? Is this our
It's when you
topic today?
pause-
It's
Yeah.
when you start
So
recording a
Welcome to
video
Dialog Choices
and-
Podcast. This is Toaster, Colonel, and Andrew in whatever order you can guess what their names, voices sound like. What's the millennial
I'm
pause?
Toaster.
Millennial pause is
it's
a
when you
pause in
pause at the start
speaking
of
that
a
it
video.
present at the start of
Yeah.
some recorded videos, especially on short form app like on TikTok.
Yes.
Mhm.
first
millennial
like-
pause is what
The
is
first image
2008
for a millennial
economy.
pause on Wikipedia is what I think is Taylor Swift making a face, and I don't know why that's the reference picture for a millennial pause.
I have
so
watched a documentary on this, and so I'm
There's a
very
documentary
well-versed.
on the millennial pause. Is it entirely
it's a
silent?
noted it's a noted linguistic phenomenon that occurs in people older than the current young generation that uses social media.
It's not linguistic. It's technological.
This is literally considered a linguistic thing. We study it
Really?
in linguistics. Yes.
Wow.
Because it transcends
wasn't
just recordings. It was identified originally in recordings, but it is a thing that we do when we are starting any sort of important discourse or topic about something. So older generations, for whatever reason, us included, if you go to start a video, when we'll hit record and then we'll like wait a pause or two as if we're waiting for someone to pay attention to us, and then we'll start talking. We'll be like if this is the start of the video, we'll press record.
I don't do
Hey,
that.
I'm here today to talk about X, Y, and Z. That's
I
what
edit
people
my
do.
videos and I cut the
I thought
silence
people
out.
do that.
I was gonna
thought you
say,
do
do
that
people
because
not
if you
edit?
don't,
For editing,
if you don't wait a few seconds and you just start talking the moment you press record, it will just skip your information. Some
Yes.
Yeah.
software
That's what
doesn't
happens
care.
to that's
That's
what happens to Zoomers though. Look
That's
at all
what
the
we
TikToks
think.
where they start mid sentence and end
I
the
don't
videos
watch
mid-sentence.
TikTok.
Yes.
That's not a millennial pause. That's just fucking proper content creation. Zoomers
It is,
don't know how to make anything. That's not
But
a whole
that's the thing.
Like,
Yes, it is a whole thing though, because it is a noted phenomenon that has become so culturally powerful that it just has dictated how large groups of people communicate now on the internet. Where if you watch videos by people,
There's a whole term for millennials being tech savvy and Zoomers not making good videos.
But it's not even about being tech savvy anymore.
That's true.
It's
not about
it's
tech
transcended
savvy.
it because
You're
most video like TikTok platforms and stuff like that they're making content on now function in a way to support this. So when you start on TikTok, you're swiping through, a lot of these very successful content creators literally just start talking the second you slide onto them. Like there's no pause. And that's considered optimization because the platforms are built around that now, because that's what young people do, because they're maximizing the time they can get into the content. They're not even wasting a second.
So is it
Unlike
cutting?
us.
but you are wasting a second because there's a second of time that
Because you're watching TikTok.
thrown into the
You're
trash.
wasting
No, but
all
that-
of the second.
Is it
No,
cut-
but that's the thing is that they're so good at it and it's so optimized now that you're not losing any time. We will pause and there will be a second of dead air before we start talking. They will start talking and it will be the start of the sentence. It will be, hey guys, I'm here to talk. This is Mr. Beast, yada, yada. Like in the first second. Sure, you might not catch what they're saying, but it's all recorded and it's all there. There's no dead air there. There's no pause for the audience.
Editing? Isn't that
No.
just them
Yeah, isn't
editing
that just
out
editing?
the pause?
No.
Yeah, but millennials
Oh.
don't edit out the pause though. That's the thing. But
Weird.
no, it's not just
That's
editing.
a lack of tech savviness. thing.
Neither
You just don't
I'm
know what
neither
you're
of the
fucking
people in
doing.
either of these
Like, what?
pictures.
I'm so confused.
I'm not in either of these
it's-
pictures. I pause at the beginning of recordings because it sincerely does cut you off and not record the first few seconds, and you can't trust your hard drive
Yeah.
to spin up in time.
Yeah,
but I edit
these
out the
people
pause.
are not recording.
I'm not either
they're
of
not
these
recording
people.
on their
Hard drive.
computers.
Zoomers
They're
don't have
recording
hard
on their
drives. Oh,
phones.
it's solid slate.
Yeah, neither of
phones
these
have
people are
flash
applicable
drives.
to
They
me.
have hard drives.
Yeah, your phone's storage though is infinitely faster than OBS hard recording
I'm
to a
such an
hard
enigma.
drive. Like this is not it. You all are making it out to be weirder than it is. It's
No,
actually
it's
a very
definitely not.
logical
Yeah,
thing.
it's true. You're
I
No,
right.
I'm
record
just
to it. I
realizing that
record
both versions are non-applicable to the situation that Colonel brought it up for.
Look, I'm just here to
No,
sow
but it
chaos.
would have been applicable
and-
here of just being quiet after we hit record and we know the recording is starting.
My intention is to create as much chaos as possible in the intro, so that
Well,
you
we
have
intention-
difficulty. So you have difficulty choosing where to start the episode. So for all
It's
I know,
a-
this
it's
isn't
ju-
going to be.
it's just apples and oranges. It's just not the same thing.
Well, jokes on millennials. I can actually edit, so I'm not. All of my content looks like it's made by a
Because
Zoomer,
we've all had
them.
recordings start mid sentence because it didn't actually start when you hit start. You're like, oh fuck.
I didn't. I haven't.
Yeah,
had
of
that.
course.
Yeah,
But again, the thing that this refers to generally is like
that's why I'm saying it's apples and
prepackaged
oranges.
content. It's not though, because he was making a joke about recording in the sense of doing the millennial pause. He wasn't saying you were doing it now. He was bringing it up as a cue to a joke.
It was kids. Yeah. That's that. Yeah.
How is this
Toaster.
sourceable?
Toaster is correct.
Speaking
How
of
is it sourceable?
Speaking of
It's a
Zoomers,
Sorry. I'm talking about on the Wikipedia page. It says awareness. And it says becoming aware of the phenomenon has made some millennials notice that they are getting old. In quotes, and then it has a source to it.
Oh, that's
What?
insane.
Like,
That is very
swear
weird.
to God, dude. I
That's
hate-
easy
I
though.
hate
That's easy
online
to source.
discourse
All you have to do is
sometimes.
like 3 tweets from 3 millennials, and that's technically correct. Some millennials have
They
recognized
find
that they're
some
getting
find
old.
their own habit embarrassing. It's not embarrassing. It's good content creation. Zoomers are incompetent creatures. Just leave them alone. Let them do their thing. Be happy
Look,
that you
they
actually
make
take
nice
time
cakes.
to get your stuff.
Okay.
They do not. They don't make
They-
I think-
anything.
I think you're
Like, it-
misunderstanding though the like what the pause is, Andrew. Because the thing is that these Zoomers are so optimized that it's not cutting them off at the start.
That's why
of their
they're called
sentence.
Zoomers. They're like the Zoomers all
Yeah.
over the shop.
that's not.
That's
They're-
not why they're
no.
called Zoomers. It's
It's
different.
No.
it's not.
Also, they're
called
waiting.
Zoomers
They're
because
just not. They're just not waiting as long as millennials do.
Yes, literally. They
Yes,
just
that's
they're
the
so
premise.
optimized that the second
there's-
the audio starts recording that they would be already starting talking rather
So
than
there's a
millennials
Zoomer
where if you go
pause
to like
then.
no, there's no Zoomer pause. That's the thing.
You just don't
They
notice
start
it. There has to be a pause. You can't just press start recording because it will skip your stuff. There's a specific
not on an
amount
not
of
on
pausing
like an
you're doing.
iPhone, not on TikTok. You can do
We're
it right
going
now.
in circles.
You can do it.
We're literally
No,
repeating
that's
the
why I
same
do
things
it.
now.
I do it because every fucking time I record on my phone, which is a Google Pixel 5, so not an old phone, a perfectly competent, well-made phone, I press record. The first second gets thrown away every time.
Oh,
It's always
I have never had this happen to me on my phone. I click
I-
record and it records instantly. I can hit
Mine-
stop before the first second and I get the exact frame perfect start and stop of what I'm getting on my phone.
if I do not wait until it says 1 second, nothing will show up. It is gone
Oh.
content. It is might as well
Yeah.
just not have existed. And like I am not going to waste my time. I will just
Well-
edit a pause out. Like I'm not going
I'm
to
getting-
try to do a whole video over again because like half of my sentence got cut off in the beginning.
I'm getting a
Yeah,
Pixel 7. I'll let you know what happens in Pixel 7.
On
Wow.
my iPhone 13,
7 whole
I
pixels.
just-
You can almost draw a sprite with that.
Nice.
Wow.
finally.
I
Well,
just get a
according to
16
Bethesda-
millisecond recording.
According to Bethesda, you can make you can probably make 2 1/3 chairs with those 7 pixels.
Either way, I am not feeling old about knowing this knowledge. I feel more confident in myself as being better at content creation. So thank you for.
Anyway,
allowing
welcome
me
to episode 84 of our thoroughly unlistenable podcast. Ryan asks, what are
Yes.
your experiences with dating apps, speaking of Zoomers?
Well, you swipe right if you like them. You swipe left if
Does
you don't.
anyone have dating app stories they want to share? I have never downloaded
I've-
a single one.
I've met some of my best friends on dating apps. I think if I were to share my dating app stories, they would be demonetize this video. So maybe
We can
not.
talk-
I
can
can just
in code.
preemptively not monetize this video. I could just
Or
give
we-
up.
I mean, you-
We could talk in code.
I think
though.
they're- yeah, oh yeah, talking.
They already demonetize
like-
every video where we admit we're gay, so at this point,
Oh,
why
that's it.
bother?
It's over now.
Yeah.
Damn, you already demonetized it yourself.
I'm on Keith's camp. Never downloaded it.
Sometimes I think saying the word demonetizes your video like a spell.
Probably. You're telling the robot what to do,
Just
right? The
learn.
robot just listens to your commands. Demonetize. They said they want it demonetized. All right, done.
It's like the joking reference to the idea of this video is going to be demonetized makes the robot look at that part harder. Well, what did
Yeah.
they do? They're self-reporting here.
they double scan the same
Yeah.
sentence.
Sorry, what did you say, Colonel?
I'm on your camp. I've never downloaded anything. Or actually, I think the first time I
You
heard of
wouldn't
dating apps, they were
download a
still
boyfriend.
I don't have any experience.
I have experience, but it is kind of negligible. I don't know. It's the same thing as meeting someone in a bar. You just talk to a stranger and it either works or it doesn't. And because I'm a guy, I don't get to experience any of the insanity of it. Like, people just ignore me like 90% of the time because like that's the guy experience is either talking to, well, for a straight guy experience, you're either talking to somebody and they ignore you or you just don't get talked to at all. So there's not really any crazy stories you get. You just end up mostly just kind of doing it on the toilet, and then someone matches, you talk for like a few minutes, they stop talking to you because you probably weren't very funny, and then you move on to the next thing.
Because you
It's
were
kind
on
of-
the toilet. You need to be on your A game, Andrew. You need to be.
He
No, I
is
was
on his A
swiping on the
game.
toilet. I
Literally.
don't.
I
Yeah,
see.
literally. I swipe on the toilet, but I don't like
His
talk on the
A's
toilet.
out catching air.
Catching air. It's I don't know. It's a very different way to interact with people or look for companionship. And so if that's something if that's the way you are good at interacting with people online via text, then it works. And if you're not, it doesn't at all. So it's I don't know. It's fine. Dating apps are just like, I don't know. They're just they're a digital version of someone matchmaking for you. Someone just shows up to your house with a book of a bunch of pictures and goes like, pick which one looks pretty. And you point at it and they go like, not that one. They won't like you. And you're like, okay. Like that's pretty much all it goes. And then, yeah. So I don't know what kind of experience you would be looking for. Like I can't imagine, again, maybe if we were women and we would get people who are like the most deranged members of society messaging us
Oh,
on a
yeah.
constant daily basis,
Yeah.
then we would have something funny to talk about. But like, I think the most insane post I had was somebody who was like convinced that I was a bot, and I was like, okay, and then I just blocked him.
Fair.
That was it. I was like, all right, I don't know what does is there more to dating apps than that? You just swipe and talk to somebody. I really don't know. Like, is there like a Zoomer version of dating apps? Do they just like go super fast? They don't even look at people. They just swipe fucking left until they get the ending, and then they go through and they like systematically
Like
type,
they
hello to
swipe
every
the
person.
same way that like the girl in 8th grade interacts with Facebook, where she's just fucking
Yeah.
liking every single post and just going and going and not actually
you're just
weird
liking every
autopilot social
person.
media.
Like I don't know what kind of interaction you could be looking for in dating apps from people. Like what?
It makes me think about how like extremely noticeable it is when somebody has notifications turned on for your Twitter, and the moment you tweet anything before you even load the page, there's already like multiple likes, and it's the same people that it always is because they just like they're seemingly autopiloting through Twitter every day. I'm not even aware enough with like Tinder to know which direction's which with the swiping. Like I can't make swipe jokes because I'm like, wait, shit, which one? If they're just two arbitrary directions, and I don't remember which one's the yes or no. So I always every now and then I'm like, haha, swipe. No, not doing that joke. Literally don't know how to finish the sentence, and I just got quiet for a moment. Online dating stresses me out as a concept. Just thinking about it, I don't like the idea at all. It feels like a job interview. It feels too much like a job interview. It's too much of an escalation.
That is literally what dating is.
Now I feel like I need to express my opinions on this because I think the conception of how it works is very weird. In my experience, dating apps are like any chat app. It's like Twitter. You go on, you make a profile, you pick a profile picture you think is cool, and in your bio you put like, I like Panzer Dragoon, and then you scroll through a feed and it shows
And
you
will
other
never get
people,
matches.
and you just look at the people and you go, oh, that guy's kind of pretty, and then you look at their bio, and in their bio it says Final Fantasy VIII is my favorite Final Fantasy, and you go, oh, this is intolerable. and then you swipe left, and they get removed, and you go, that was good. I dodged a bullet there. And then eventually,
Left is the no.
eventually one day you're sitting on the bus and you get a buzz in your pocket and you pull it out and you look at it and it's someone who says, hey man, I also like Panzer Dragoon. That's cool. What are you up to today? And then you say, oh, I'm on the bus. That's cool. And then you talk for 4 weeks and then you go and you play D&D with them after finally being invited to hang out. And they're just a cool person, and then you become friends with them for multiple years. That's my experience on dating apps.
You don't date.
I mean, you can.
Dating apps are a way to meet people,
the
whether or
big
not
gap
you're
there
romantically
in
interested.
Yeah, it's just a way to talk to people, and you make friends on them the same way you do anyone else, and then you can date them too. You can choose to date people. It's easy. It's simple.
Yeah, don't take dating apps seriously because no one else is, and that is the best way to do it.
Yes, that is absolutely the correct the correct thing. Is that it? Dating apps are just like, it's like Twitter. Like don't care about it. You understand that you're opting into something, and like gay dating apps are complex because we have like the catch-all app that everyone has installed. We have Grindr, but then there's also like the sub-community apps. So there's like Growler for bears and bigger guys. There's Scruff, which is for like, I guess, traditionally masculine men. And you're self-selecting into these so people can like be on multiple ones. They'll use different ones. There's like, I think, Bigger City for like, bigger guys. There's Jacked for like twinks.
What?
There's
how many do you have? It seems like exhaustive.
That's for
all of them.
It's literally, there's so many of them. There are more than you can count. I'm not kidding. But the thing is that you just
like everyone.
Yeah, you can use Tinder. You can use Tinder for dating. That's totally fine. I think Tinder has allowed gays for like 10 years. But the whole point is like, you can cast a net as wide as you want and just be on the big ones, or you can keep the net small and like hyper focus if you want to. And then as you do that, you just understand what you're stepping into. Like, you go on Grindr, yeah, a bunch of dudes are going to send you unsolicited pictures of their buttholes, like whatever. But like, you're on Grindr, you don't need to look at them. You can just close the message, just like when you look in your list of messages and you see it says photo received. Picture. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can just like, you can cancel. You can be like, I don't want to look at this. Like, you understand that is the point of the app, and then just move on and use it. But yeah, dating apps are like, they're no big deal. You get on them. Sometimes you make a friend for 5 years. Sometimes you have some friends with benefits. Sometimes you have a hookup with someone and it's really awkward, and then you never talk to them again. It's whatever. It's the same as like, is it seriously more intimidating than like going to a dive bar that you've never been to before while music is playing loudly and then trying to strike up a conversation with a hot stranger? Like, I don't think so.
You're trying to compare infinities.
Yeah. Like, I think dating apps are really simple. I'm going to be very vulgar when I say this, but like, dating apps are really simple because for the most part, everything you need to know about someone is on their profile. You can make a snap judgment about them and it's okay. And for the most part, if someone actually responds to your messages, it means they're interested. So the intentions are pretty clear. You basically start a conversation. It's like it's like that Hrothgar comic where it's like Hrothgar, and then you make out. Like, that's what it's like. Like, same hat, and then you kiss. Like, that's what a dating app is. Is you're like, hi, like when the code of a dating app is like, you look on someone's profile and it's like, I really like Pokemon. And then I'll send a message to someone like, what's your favorite Pokemon? But then like, if there were subtitles for that, the subtitles would be like, I want to see your butthole. And then they're like, my favorite Pokemon is Ursaring. And then their subtitles would say like, here's what my butthole looks like. Like, that's what dating apps are. It's not, particularly.
Here's my Ursaring.
Obscured.
I'm looking up Ursaring. I don't know what.
Here's my Ursaring. Damn it.
Oh, that he does have. That is fitting.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see if it fits.
Well, there's the literal, O in the middle of the. Well, it's the chest, but still. If there's a Pokemon that would stand for a butthole, it would be Ursaring. I think Toaster made the right choice.
What?
I don't know
I don't
Pokemon
have
enough. I'm sorry.
buttholes.
Save me here.
I'm scared. Anyway, I don't think anyone's going to share any stories. So
Yeah, I don't.
that
Yeah,
went
I
about
don't-
as
I-
well
like-
as I expected. Because
Sorry, I
it's
legitimately
quite-
don't have
it's quite the
anything.
question to
Like,
hit someone
there's-
with.
I
Yeah,
can, I
there's
mean,
just
I can tell
nothing-
my first dating app hookup story, but it's kind of goofy and also just very vulgar. So I mean, if we want to be a sex podcast, I can tell sex stories.
Let's
I'm trying
do
to.
it.
All right.
Go for it.
Adults
So-
only podcast starting now. Get out.
Jeff.
Yeah,
Wolves.
self-reporting children, get out. I hope you aren't here anymore. Don't click that I'm above 13 thing. I swear, I'll get so mad.
Wait, that's not the children thing. I'm
That's
above
yeah,
not
you
the
make a,
children thing.
if you make a YouTube account, it's still going to ask you, are you 13? And if you're under 13,
Yeah,
you're under no legal obligation to say yes or no.
Does it? I've been
you
using the
can
same account since I was not as
Since you were
old as I
under
said
13.
I was. I did lie about my age on when I
Yeah.
registered for YouTube.
So, like, that's the thing is, so, like, self-reporting.
I had
That's
to
what
watch
you're
Red
doing.
vs.
You're
Blue, and it was only for adults back then.
You really didn't. Guess what?
I
you didn't
did. Otherwise,
No,
you
you
had
could've
to. You had
scrolled
to. You had.
Blue
You
is
could,
coming
internet.
out soon.
if you didn't pay for Red vs. Blue, you could only download like 2 episodes per week on a rotating list, like it was TV reruns. And you had to like watch that one page all the time to download like a postage stamp version of the video. Or you could get a YouTube account, this newfangled crazy service, and lie about your age. Now you can watch the whole show. That was crazy at the time. 2006, half my life ago. Kill me. Anyway, awkward sex.
All right.
I don't think he said the sex was awkward.
So no, it was awkward. It was terrible. It was the worst sex I've ever had.
Worse. It got
Uh,
worse.
Yeah. So the first time I ever had a hookup on a dating app was also the first time I'd ever actually hooked up with a guy. It was in college. I was living in Texas at the time, and I was on like OkCupid, maybe. This was the olden days. We didn't have
Back
a
in my
smartphone app for this anymore, or at that point.
Yeah, it
but
was
his
still
name was
website.
Yeah, his name was Harrison. If he's listening, hey bud, sorry to break it to you. But he was really awkward, and he was like, he worked at like a video rental store. I'm gonna tell the story in the way that it was communicated, that like I experienced it, but it will become very clear that there was some unreliable narration happening on part of him by the time we get to it. So he was like, yeah, I work at a video store with my, like my best friend. It's awesome. And like, I'm hanging down in downtown Dallas, like want to come hang out. And I was like, yeah, sure. He's like, cool. We'll go on a date to like a Japanese restaurant and it's awesome. And you go I went, and first things first. So I go to this video store and he doesn't work there. His friend works there and he hangs out there, which is very weird. And he wasn't like a serial killer or anything. He wasn't like 35 years older than me or anything. He was like an awkward dude. I was
Wait, so he doesn't have a job?
19. Yeah, no, he was like a college student.
Okay.
He does not work. He does not work there. He literally just hangs out there all the time because that's where his best friend works. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Well, you wanted to go to a restaurant. Like, let's bail on hanging out at this video store and go to this restaurant. And he was like, all right, I'll call us a ride. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. So he calls us a ride, and it's his mom. And this particular aspect was not a bad thing in a vacuum, but it was very awkward and very intense for the first time that I met this person. His mom brought his extremely incapably mentally disabled brother with them. And he sat in the car next to me the entire time we were being driven to a restaurant to go on a date while his mother grilled me on how long I had known him and and gave me their entire life story, which was
This is like six overlapping social contexts at once.
Yeah, it was.
I am like, I'm dying.
Incredibly painful.
Jesus.
I promise you, this is not the worst part of this story.
What?
So
I
yeah,
think I know how this one ends.
Bro,
Yeah,
I would have already left. Like, I cannot imagine.
I was in a car in the middle of Dallas. Like, I would have
Nothing
died
would
if
stop
I left.
me. Yes, goodbye.
So I'm sitting there, and so to be really clear, like the brother was not a problem, and the mother was not a problem in the grand sense of things. It was just intensely like that is a very intense
that's a
social
lot.
situation to be
That's a
thrown
lot
into.
to deal with on a fucking stranger. Like,
Yeah, on literally a first date. And so she
God.
tells me their life story. She's like, we named him Harrison after Harrison Ford because I thought he was so handsome.
That's the first joke that came to mind.
Yeah,
my
I
joke
was like,
too. God,
I was trying to
like,
work the pun of like, wow, he
okay.
sure didn't afford that relationship.
Yeah, it was really intense because I ended up like in a weird way. I was like, okay, if this mother was like a mother of one of my friends, I would find her endearing and fun, and this situation would be like quirky and funny in like a sitcom sense. So I found a lot of humor in it in the moment, but it was also like a coping mechanism of like, this is the most terrifying social situation I've ever been put in my life up to this point. And I just don't know how to react. So I'm just going to be really, really nice and like humor this clearly exhausted mother who is trying her best with her very gay son. And you know, to raise her kids well. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever, that's fine. And then so she drops us off at this quote unquote really nice Japanese restaurant, and it was a Tanpopo in Dallas. For those of you who have never been to the restaurant called Tampopo Japanese Cafe in Dallas, it's like a counter service cafeteria, like Japanese little corner cafe that people eat at on their lunch break from work in the business park across the street. Like, it's not like a nice restaurant. It was
it sounds pretty high
like
class.
Yeah, it was actually really terrible. And so I awkwardly went on a date while his mom and younger brother sat in the seat across from us eating, like in the table across from us eating. And so that was fine. And then he was like, I was like, okay, well, this was fun. Maybe we should like go back. And because like the thing that I didn't tell him, because I like didn't want to be the person driving and stuff, was like my car was parked in the parking lot at the video store, and he didn't see it because he was inside the video store. So I was like, okay, maybe like I can like bail. So I go to the video store. We go back to the video store. His mom is like, "You're so great. Just treat him nice and have a nice time." And I was like, "Okay, lady." I'm 19 years old, by the way, right now. I am like not a fully functioning human at this point.
I imagine
So
at this point you've now talked to his mom more than him.
Oh yes, I've spoken to his mom, and the reason why there's not a lot of details in this section of the story is because like truly, it was mostly awkward silence. Like, it was awkward silence punctuated by me talking to his mother about like what movie stars she liked. That was the whole story. No, like in the car and stuff.
In the car, right? Okay.
Yeah, and then we ended up going back to the video store, and like right as we get back, his friend is like, "Hey, like my shift ended. Do you want to go like hang out?" And at this point, I was like, you know what? Like, why not? Maybe this will salvage this. We can go do something fun. And she was like, all right, like, we'll go back to my place. I was like, okay, cool. So we go back to her place. This time, I specifically am like, I can drive us. So we drive back to her place, and I park in front. And they're like, all right, let's get my older brother to buy us like beer and stuff. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever.
Oh, because you're 19.
And so I was
you
like,
can't
oh,
drink.
yeah, because I'm 19, so I can't buy beer. So I was like, okay, yeah, like let's do this. Let's party. This will be fun. And so I guess we all pile into the back of this truck and go to Bevmo. And this is Texas, by the way. So like they just don't ID people there. I didn't buy any. I want to be very clear. I did not buy because I'm a good, upstanding citizen. But the other minors that I say minors, the other people under 21 that I was with definitely did buy a lot of alcohol. And then we go back to the house, and I'm realizing that like I haven't spoken to the brother at all. So I was like, hey man, thanks so much for buying for us. Like, this is great. And he looks me dead in the face and goes, no habla inglés. And I was like, excuse me? And then I walk inside her house. And this is the next most intense social situation I've ever been put in because of the circumstances of this house. There are like 13 people living in this tiny house. They're all part of this multi-generational Spanish family.
Oh.
And again, this is not a problem with them as people. Totally fine. I'm not a narc. I'm not going to do anything bad. They're all undocumented immigrants who don't speak English. So I am now partying. I am now in the like 5th hour of a terrible first date that should have been aborted immediately, surrounded by Spanish speakers who don't speak English in a multi-generational family.
And you don't speak Spanish, I assume.
And I do not speak Spanish. I speak absolutely no Spanish.
It's the only language you don't speak.
It is. It's like the European language that I am just completely fundamentally unfamiliar with in any regard. I guess other than Portuguese. But they're all partying and having a good time, and me and Harrison are sitting in the living room like awkwardly on the couch, and he speaks fluent Spanish and I don't. So they're all talking and then like asking him questions about me, and then because he knows nothing about me, he turns to me and speaks to me in English. So I'm having like an interpreted conversation with these people I do not know, shit-faced drunk. At one point I mixed a strawberry margarita like Capri Sun pouch with a bottle of sake because I was like, I'm not drunk enough, need to be more drunk for this. And then I was just chugging that. That was a bad mix, by the way, very not good. And so I sat there and I had this really awkward conversation for literally like 3.5 hours. And then most of the family goes upstairs, and the younger people, the like older brother, and then the best friend, Harrison's best friend, and everyone else are just like hanging out, I guess. And I think I played Marvel vs. Capcom 3 on their Xbox in Spanish because I was like, this is a multiplayer game. We can just like fuck around on this. That's fine. And then like over time, obviously the party quiets down and they're like, yeah, we should like stay the night. Like that would be fun. And I was like, okay, yeah, like whatever. I guess at this point if I'm not axe murdered already, it's not going to happen. So I'll be fine. And I started to get the feeling that these people were just like well-meaning people that just like couldn't communicate with me. So I wasn't threatened by any of them. It was just a really weird situation to be in. And then Harrison, who was just like completely harmless and like not a threat. So I was like, yeah, whatever. Like I planned to be out for the night. I guess I'll hang out. I'll stay over. And he like has a conversation with his best friend, and his best friend is like, oh, okay. And then she's like, I'm going to go curl my hair. And she goes into the bathroom to curl her hair and then just starts playing a cam rip of Avengers 2011, because it was like 2011 or 2013 or whatever, in the bathroom while she's curling her hair at like 2 a.m, clearly blocking any noise. So it was like, okay, he was just like, this is my chance. Get out of here. Let me like bang my date in your living room. I was like, all right, whatever. And so we start to fool around like one does in this multi-generational Spanish family's home. And And you know, we go back and forth a bit, and that's fine. And he's finally like, did you bring a condom? And I was like, yeah, I did. Like, this isn't my first rodeo, my friend, even though it kind of was, because I'm so good. And he was like, cool. I've never seen one in person before. And I was like,
Wait,
what?
a
Okay.
condom in person?
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. Interesting thing to spring on me right now while you're trying to woo me in this incredibly awkward situation, but okay. And so, like, you know, things progress a little bit and we start getting a little bit friskier. And it becomes immediately very clear to me that he is inexperienced in my worst nightmare way. And I want to be very clear, being inexperienced is not a problem. Literally, basically ever. People should not feel ashamed about being inexperienced. However, you should be careful if your only exposure to sexuality is like yaoi and hentai.
Oh
because
yeah.
you might hurt someone. And so
Oh no.
he's like he's like making out with me and like kissing my neck and trying to like, you know, like playfully bite at me and stuff. And then he like looks, I'm shirtless, so he like goes to bite my nipple as like a playful thing.
Ooh.
And just bites me. Just bites me actually hard. And I start bleeding. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? And he was like, sorry, I saw it in a comic and I thought it would be hot. And I was like, okay. And that is where I was like, I can't do this anymore. We need to stop. I'm too drunk, whatever. Like, I just played it off like, I'm like a little too drunk. Like, oh, stuff happens. Maybe it's not a great idea. I roll over and go to bed. And just kind of ice it out. And then in the morning,
I wake
up. No, I did not. I just kind of held it until it stopped bleeding. But I probably realistically should have immediately used like hydrogen peroxide, because who knows, maybe my entire chest could have fallen off. But I was like, whatever. I like literally cannot deal with this right now. My blood alcohol content is too high anyway. It's fine. It will disinfect
it's disinfecting itself. Don't worry.
Yeah. And then so I wake up in the morning with like the worst hangover of my life up to that point. And he's like,
When I got
hey,
the
man.
Capri-Sun sake mix.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, man. You know, hey, what's up? And he was like, oh, hey, dude, I thought I'd let you sleep in. We were really drunk last night. I like hardly remember what happened. And I was like, haha, yeah, me neither. I did not black out. I was very drunk, but I was not that drunk. And then he was like, what do you want for food? Like, I'm so hungry. You must be hungry too. I bet you're hungover. And I was like, yeah, order pizza, please. Like, that would be great. And literally the only thing I had on my mind was like pizza. Seeing this pizza might move me to tears after this horrible experience that I had today. Like the idea of something as beautiful and comforting as a gigantic, large pizza was just so incredible for me. So I waited for 45 minutes to like wake up and not be so hungover for this pizza to show up. And the pizza guy comes to the door, knocks on the door, and is like, I have a pizza delivery for Toaster, because I had him put my name on the order. And when he showed up at the door, I just grabbed my stuff, walked out the door, and took the pizza with me, and then ate it in my car and drove home.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was the end of my very first online dating hookup. Yeah. That was a wild experience, but I refer to this story as my encounter with the nipple vampire, because he drew blood from my nipple. And it was not a great experience, but yeah. But here's my thing, right? This whole story is insane, but I didn't die. So if I can do it, all you people can do. It's easy now. You have dating apps for this stuff. You don't need to use
after the
OkCupid.
previous comments.
All I'm saying is that OkCupid was a different era, okay?
Your earlier
Being-
points are not they're supported well by the story.
No, my earlier points are great now because I don't need to go on a date with someone to get to know them. I can just chat with them on an app and then figure out what the heck we're gonna be up to. And I don't need to play this weird back and forth dating game with some very charming, endearing, inexperienced boy who I did not have a great night with. So dating apps are a step in the right direction as far as I'm concerned, from dating websites.
Yeah.
You lost hit points on that date.
I did. I rolled multiple crit fails in a row on every single decision that I could have made, except for the pizza. I had some bomb.
I mean, that's
pizza.
what an ending.
That
like
was
that's
an exit. Yeah.
like imagining the animated version of the story.
Like, yeah, I mean, it helps that like
Unfortunate.
I went downstairs to get the pizza, and then like they were on the landing above us, and I'm sure they expected me to come back up the stairs.
So you
But I
just
didn't.
left.
I just
He
left.
just left with the pizza.
I just left with the
Holy
pizza.
crap.
Yeah.
You didn't even
So
say like hi or
powerful.
anything. That's great.
No, I Irish exited them so hard. I went to get the pizza and then left, and he paid for it. So that's reparations as far as I'm concerned.
Damn.
Yeah.
But since then, I've had many great dates on dating apps, and I've met tons of great friends. That is, it's fine. Like dating apps, like Grindr and stuff like that. Like even when you have hookups, right? Even when you're like getting to bone down and stuff, like you're just like literally, I've just like gone over a friend's house, played Smash Bros, and then fooled around with people, and it's fine. Like it's like that is the new dating experience. You don't need to have this weird like email asynchronous communication with people in order to like suss out if they're a serial killer or not. You just like, if the vibes aren't good in the first DM they sent you, you just move on, and it's great.
Mm. Does it take a lot of experience to tell if the vibes are not good, or is it just
No.
No,
Yeah. I think instinctively your body's pretty good at going like,
You'd
huh.
be surprised at people instinct. Sometimes
I mean, yeah, I mean, we just went over how someone's instincts led him to literally drawing blood from me. So I mean, sometimes instincts are not to be.
Hentai is a very
trusted.
violent
Yeah.
genre.
Harrison must have gotten the worst told off by his mom. She must have been pissed. You did
Oh.
what to his nipple?
Yeah. Oh, she
Why
was.
would
She
you
probably
do
was.
it?
She was heartbroken. She was heartbroken that we didn't get married. That I'm not her son-in-law. It's okay.
Yeah.
I think her name was Donna. I don't remember, but if you're out there, Donna, what's up, girl? Call me.
If you're Harrison, you never tell anyone that story.
Yeah.
I'm sure he told.
I
No.
feel like he would, but I don't feel like you should.
By the way you tell the
Everyone's-
story, Toaster, he's the kind of person that would share to somebody.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure as far as he was concerned, up until that last moment, it was just kind of awkward but salvageable.
But
Yeah.
salvageable.
But
Sounds like a perfect
after the
podcast.
pizza, I never spoke to him again, and I'm pretty sure he blocked me on OkCupid, so it's fine.
You stole
I've had a-
his
I've-
pizza.
No, he didn't.
The
He
pizza's
got
sacred.
he got paid for the pizza.
Well, yeah.
I'm gonna
It's kind of
lose
what-
my mind. I'm gonna lose my mind if he's a listener on this podcast. Edit
What are
out
the
every single
odds?
time I said his name and instead replace it with like
Why did you-
Clark Gable.
I'm like, why are you saying all the names?
To be clear, I there were not. I think that just his first name is fine, but
You can't
it's-
give me
it's-
editing homework. Fuck you.
Yeah, it's fine. It's
You're
whatever.
listening to this
No
whole
one
thing and
listens-
catch
no
every
one-
instance
this
of me saying
podcast
it a lot of
started
times.
Unlistenable. I'm okay. I can bury whatever.
That's the
I want
great.
here
That's
and
the
no one will
great
find
filter
it.
now. Now you can say anything and you can't be canceled
Yeah.
because everyone
Come
quit
on, the
30
millennial
seconds in when
pause.
we're all yelling about the millennial pause.
Yeah.
Any names that may or may not be referenced to real world people are not references to real world people.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a
they're
reference to
all
literally
fictional
Harrison
characters.
Ford. Toaster went back in
Yeah.
time and dated
Harrison.
19-year-old
Harrison Ford
Harrison
is dead?
Ford,
Oh,
which is,
19-year-old.
and then you could tell because VHSs existed.
Yes, via
Yeah,
a
there was
video
a
rental
video
store.
What is yeah?
What fucks
100%.
with my brain is doing the mental math and being like, Wow, this whole story happened while I was working at Best Buy. Like that's how the timeline lines up. Like back when I was starting my Let's Play channel, basically. I'm like, this is just weird thinking back that far. It's vaguely upsetting. The I lost my train of thought. It's dead. I killed it.
I was in university.
R.I.P. Oh yeah, I've heard enough.
2006?
I've heard enough bad dating stories from Stephanie to know that like a lot of dates have like shockingly asymmetrical experiences where like she'll be on a date and she's just absolutely miserable and she hates the person and hates the date and just wants to leave.
Oh my god.
And then by the end they want another date. Like they're like, so that was good, right? Like they have no idea that this was like a horrible time and they think that like this is like things went well. It's just like it's a so no, wow. You are not automatically on the same page at all.
Yeah. I mean, it happens, but I mean, the thing that I
don't know if it's easier when you're gay or not, like, because men and women have a lot of like fucked up cultural background behind dating that is itself extremely like asymmetrical, and like the way that men are socialized to date women is a weird like challenge they have to defeat essentially. Like it almost is like a job interview, and they're often not in tune at all with the point of any of it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a difference in understanding whether or not, or it's very difficult to tell how bad or good a date is going, especially with somebody you don't know, because you have no fucking idea what is or is not something that pisses them off or like is a red flag for them. So you don't know that your own behavior is bad because you don't know enough about a person to tell the signs that they're not having a good time or whatever. And there is a level of like, you can be emotionally aware, right? If someone just doesn't talk to you, if they're like one word answers to all of your sentences or whatever in real life, then maybe it's probably not going well. Either they're really shy or they fucking don't want to talk to you. But otherwise, like, it's hard. How do you know? I don't know. Like the date I went on with Mandy was awful. Probably the worst date I have ever been on, because it was like literally in the height of COVID, and we went to go do mini golf because that seemed like a really cute thing that would be easy to do without being in a building, right? No, every fucking human being in a 20-mile radius was doing golf that day. It was packed. It was literally shoulder to shoulder doing mini golf, which means that you're being impatiently rushed to go through a fucking kids game. Great. Also, it's loud because there's so many people. So it was hard to talk because there's a bunch of kids and like adults shouting at one another while you're trying to golf. So great time having a conversation. Once we finished that, like there's nothing in the area that we were nearby to go do for like eating except for fast food, which like I just didn't want to eat. I had no interest in eating like Taco Bell or something. Like, no, thank you. And
not
so
great.
It just was
food.
It was just this completely awful, shitty experience that I would never want to do again. But then we had a second date. So like, how do you even know? How the fuck do you even know if this works or not? You don't. It doesn't make sense. Like, it's
the surrounding scenario doesn't inform your impression of the person when like just stuff happens at the date.
But it's
like to the date.
But it's hard. So there's when there's so that's the thing though. It's like it's hard. There's a lot of things going on, so it was hard for me to even focus on the person. There's a lot of other variables. It's hard to, like you're trying not to be overwhelmed by stuff like noise or people or the idea that maybe one of these people is trying to murder you with a disease they're unwilling to acknowledge is real. And like there's a lot
also
of
you were
trying.
I bet you were trying to win the game. I bet you were like also just being
I don't have to try. I'm better at mini golf. Actually we ended up tying. We ended up tying.
Oh, that's nice.
I will crush anyone under my putt heel.
Exactly. So our first and second date were both competitive based. So our first date was mini golf, and our second date was Mario Party.
And that's how you find a girlfriend that's better than you at Overwatch.
And both times we tied. So we tied on both Mario Party and mini golf, which are both things that you don't know. You really don't really know the outcome will be until like the final moment. Like the final shot of a mini golf match is what mostly dictates it, because if you're head and head, you don't know who's going to win. And Mario Party is like, as soon as you finish it, the game goes like, haha, I lied. This guy's actually cool. Like, you don't know who wins Mario Party until the end. But the whole time, I couldn't tell you whether or not the vibes were good. I have no idea. Like, I just could not tell you at any particular time whether or not. I could tell you I had fun, and I can tell you that, you know, I don't think I did bad. But I'm sure if I asked Mandy, she'd probably be like, no, you're awful. Like, probably just a terrible human being.
And that's
like,
why
I
she
believe
kept
it.
coming back.
I don't know. Like, that's the thing, though. I would never know. It's very hard to be that
You could
in
ask.
tune.
How would
You
you not
could
know?
ask, but it is very awkward to ask. Like, hey, just wanted to ask. Like, could you give me a A to F summary on how bad I did on this date? You know, am I like at a B, a D? What do I need improvement on? You know, like, it's weird to ask. Like, you can say, hey, I had a good time. Did you have a good time? And if they go no, you go like, oh, well, I guess I misjudged it. But
Yeah.
in the moment,
That sounds
you're
reasonable.
not going to recognize that. You're still going to ask,
Oh, yeah,
hey, I
not
had
in
a
the
fun time.
moment,
Do
yeah.
you want did you too? Like, that's the thing, is like, you're not going to be able to sit there and be like, yes, they were hating it. You can tell, again, like, if someone just looks pissed off. Like, I can guarantee you, we went to a fucking go watch a Jurassic Park on ice, essentially, performance.
What?
And it's not great.
You just
It was like
told
a
me.
little complicated. It's called, no, it wasn't COVID. This happened recently.
I'm
This
just
happened, like,
imagining how bad the T-Rex would eat shit on ice.
it's mostly
Terrible predator.
It's not really on ice. It's basically just a Jurassic Park live. It looks like it's on ice because it's just people running around. And some of them are in literal inflatable dinosaur costumes, and the others are just like giant animatronics on cars. Bad. Just the worst possible thing I've ever seen. I feel bad for the actors because I don't think any of them wrote this script.
That sounds
and God bless.
incredible.
Yeah, anyways, the point being, we went to go see this awful Jurassic Park live performance, and when we ended it, we ate food, and then we took an Uber to get there because we didn't want to park in downtown Sacramento. And so we were taking an Uber back, and we get so we request an Uber. We're a party of like 5 people. This car says it fits 5 people. We get there, and there's the guy's wife is sitting in one of the seats, and she's the co-pilot apparently. So he doesn't have a 5-seat car; he has a 4-seat car. And his suggestion was like, "Oh, just someone can just sit on another person's lap." No,
Right. Yeah.
not a great idea. So I was like,
No.
okay, well, I'm just gonna get a different Uber. But everyone else insisted that I didn't do that. Okay, fine. I guess I have to put myself in
You
danger. So I sit
caved?
down. Yeah, I caved because I'm not
Disappointed.
with my. It's not
Disappointed!
it's not my family. I don't have the authority to tell them like, no, fuck all of you. I'm doing something that's better for me. I don't care how you feel. So you just cave in. You
That
give in
sounds
to
like
what
my
they want.
perfect night out.
And-
Saying that.
And so we get into this shitty car, and this car, it is blasting the worst country music I have ever heard. It has monitors on the back of the car that is just basically and it was very loud, like so loud. I literally put headphones in that are noise canceling, and I could still hear the music. Like, and I was playing music while with those headphones in, and it was still loud enough that their country music was like bleeding into my music. The car was just obnoxious. It basically was like a YouTuber's car. Every fucking back of the car had these.
Wait.
No.
The YouTuber's car.
Listen,
How many
listen to me.
YouTubers have
So
you
the
been in the cars of?
Let me tell
It's
you.
just
because,
me.
So the back of, no.
I'm catching
I'm not.
strays.
No, you'll understand when I say this. It was like a YouTuber's car. The back of it had both seats, like the driver and the shotgun had screens on the back of it, and they were playing some kind of like, I don't know, some weird fucking country channel. Like, it's just these weird cowboy-looking motherfuckers going through a house, and they're like, "Yo, this is my house. This is my stable. This is my horse."
Is that what country sounds like?
I imagine. Would you ever go? And so below that,
Country
below these
really is
screens
the virtue signaling genre.
God, yes, it's.
They just list off
anyways,
things that are supposed to get your approval.
Yeah, and below these screens that are playing this shitty whatever video, it are giant pictures that are like, don't forget to give me 5 stars and give me a tip and blah blah blah. And I was like, dude, this car fucking sucks. And so I'm the one, right? I'm the one that had to sacrifice their seat. So I'm sitting there scrunched up against the door of a car, basically. Barely
You
able
didn't
to
sit
fit
on
with-
anybody's lap. My
How
God.
could I? I'm too big. Like,
Oh,
so
right, forgot about that.
so it's like I'm too tall. I'm too like, why I can't do this. And so I'm like crunched up against a wall. I'm letting other people, like being crushed, listening to loud country music, being blasted visually with shit I don't want to see. And the whole time I had the face like I think I had the exact same face that probably Jeffrey Dahmer had every time he locked the door. Like I looked like I literally was going to wipe out the entire car. It was the worst situation, the worst feeling I had ever been in my entire life. And I promise you, that is a face that someone could look at and go, I fucked up. Like this person is not happy. That would be the only time
my
I think
God.
I could I'm that is like the only time someone could see in a date and be like, oh yeah, this probably isn't going well. They look like they literally want to murder me. This probably isn't a good date. But like otherwise, it's
I'm
very
sorry,
difficult
I'm laughing
to
about it,
tell.
but yeah.
No, it's just it is like that's the thing is like it's very difficult to read people that you don't know unless they're being like very obvious about it.
You're basically
And-
being assaulted by all the things in that car.
Yeah, and
including the fact
yeah,
that there were 6 people in a 5-seat car.
yeah, for me, it's like I'm usually pretty good at kind of like pretending. I'm really good at doll facing, I guess I like to call it, where I'll just have the little mask on, like you're just smiling, you're doing the thing. That's how you interact with most families, is you just do this doll face and they love you. You're just like, oh my God, he smiles all the time. He never says anything that offends me. What a great person. I'm like, you don't know anything about me. That's the whole point. That's what I'm doing here. That's why you think I'm a great person. Like you think just a miracle walked into your home. And so, but
If
like,
you only
it's
knew
hard.
that I main Junkrat in Overwatch, you
You have
And-
no idea what kind of monster you've invited into your home.
Exactly. But obviously the difference here is like I would say for men and women dating, there's a big insistence on women being kind of doll faced through a date. You do not want to be aggressively unhappy because it could be dangerous for you, because statistically
Yeah.
speaking, men are dangerous. Like so it is like, unfortunately, you do have to kind of like there's only so much you can do in a bad date. And usually at the end, when they're like, is this a good date? They think that because you've successfully avoided a confrontation that could be dangerous for you. And that's like the difference between, I think, men and women dating versus maybe men and women. Like there's maybe a little bit less undertone of threat involved in the dating angle. So it can be a little bit harder to gauge and guess. So I don't know. I like to be intelligent about it, and I just assume that I fucked up the date every time. And that's just the best way to go about it. Just always assume you fucked the entire date up, and then it's fine. If you did, no hard feelings. You already defeated yourself about it. And if you didn't, it's a serotonin boost. You just get positive energy. There's no downside to this outcome. Like,
correct.
it doesn't hurt. Yeah, it doesn't hurt my feelings that I fucked up a date. That's normal. I'm bad at social situations.
Yeah.
The end. But
Yeah.
like, if I didn't,
There are
I
worse
win.
things in the world than a bad date.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like I just told
You could
just
get
told
your
this
nipple
insane
bit.
story about exactly like I
Yeah.
could have been axe murdered 150 times in this story. You want to know what my takeaway from this bad date was? I got a kind of funny story and I ate some damn good pizza. That's a win, y'all. That's a win.
My takeaway from today is never accept rides.
Don't accept rides from people. That is
The
a very
entire
bad.
day
That's
just
the
goes
first thing they
wrong
teach
from
you
that
as a
point
child
on.
not to do if you don't want to get murdered.
Look, there's a reason the Americans have such a strong car culture, and it's not because we're weird. It's because that freedom
Yeah.
is important. Being able to control your own agency
It's just the
and
nature
direction
of
and where
it's
you
just the
go.
law of nature. The moment you get in
No,
someone else's
that's
vehicle,
not-
the rest of the day is bad.
That's
Let
not
me-
true
let me-
though.
Yes,
Being able
yes,
to
Colonel,
take
because
the train to the restaurant and get shit faced
How-
and then
Take the
Take the train back
train to the
home.
restaurant?
Colonel, how
Yeah,
often
or-
do you, how
Yeah.
often do you have to sit in a public space in a vehicle with Americans?
That's true. I will
Yeah.
say.
Do not.
Well, but
And under any circumstance, do not be in a vehicle with other Americans that you do not know. It is not good. It is unpleasant, unfun, and you might as well do something else with your life. Like, that is why. Just have a car. Just have a car, get yourself to where you need to go, and then all the bad times you interact with people get to go away at your own decision, your own discretion. You get
it's
to
kind
just
of
get
funny
up and
'cause-
go away.
both times I went to the US in New York specifically, all of my Uber drivers and taxi drivers were not American, or at least, I mean, they might have been American, but one of them was Egyptian, the other one was, I forget, but he talked about it, but I forget. It's a Central America country, and just lovely time. But yeah, I can understand. The thing is, like, what I'm saying in terms of freedom, though, is it like it's so much better to be just have the city at your fingertips through public transportation throughout the night, 24 hours. It's just like you can go everywhere at any time.
24
It's
hours.
just-
You have your trains run 24 hours?
yeah, I mean the city like metro and city trams and stuff like that. Yeah,
That's pretty unusual. I feel like I've never been
Is it?
to a lot of places that have 24-hour public transit.
not the bus. The buses don't. Well, it depends. Here,
Like, usually it cuts off at like midnight. They go like, all right, it's midnight.
Oh,
Either
no,
you're
no,
stuck
but-
where
yeah,
you
but that's
are,
the
or like,
US.
Yeah,
That's the
that's what it
US.
is in the US. Yeah,
yeah, here in Europe, like it's either 24 hours or it cuts at like 4 in the morning.
the
and it
trains
starts at-
do
at
stop
8.
in Japan. The commuter rail
6 or
stops, but it's at 3 a.m.
3
Yeah,
a.m. When does it start?
6.
6 or
Probably.
7, something like that.
You get a 3-hour time down. Why? Just stay open
For
24/7.
maintenance.
What's the
Well,
3
maintenance
extra hours going to do?
Sometimes. Sometimes
Commuter
maintenance.
rail is different than
Yeah, that's true.
than regular rail. Commuter rail is just the inter-county rail, basically, for people who would be commuting. So it's not running all the time because they need time to do maintenance, I assume. And there's
Yeah,
not
no.
a ton of trains. So
But just I don't know. I don't talk from a dating perspective per se, but just having public transportation is amazing at the best of times. But I think for dating, it's probably even better because it gives independence to both people. It allows you to be more spontaneous and be like, I just want to go this place that I've never been or whatever. I don't know the way. Let's just take the train or take the bus or whatever. And obviously,
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
it's public, so it's safer and it's yeah.
Yeah, city interactions make more sense. When you're doing things privately, a car is the most valuable resource possible. But if
Yeah.
you're doing something like, I want to go watch a shitty dinosaur show, yeah, a train would have been way nicer. It would have been fantastic to just get on a train and then just take that to the downtown and then just watch a thing and then get back on the train and go back to where the house is. And maybe we just park a car at a parking lot that's, I don't know, 40 minutes away from the train station. But
yeah,
that's still better than like, I don't know, an Uber, a 30-minute Uber all the way back, crammed to the side of the fucking door.
That's
Like, it's just
wild.
not. It's
Sorry. Yeah.
I don't know. It is very interesting the way that transit is set up here. But it's important to note that just if you are doing Uber, the entire point of that is to get me from one destination to the other. You're not a fucking entertainment vehicle. I'm not asking you to be a party bus. I need you to simply drive 4 tires to one direction. So do not put any distractions in there. And you can have music, just have it low enough for you to hear. I don't think everyone in the car needs to hear your music. It's fine. Like, and if you're listening to country, don't. That's a
Don't,
general rule.
even if it's just
Like,
for
that's-
you.
Yeah, that's a
You know,
general blanket rule. If you listen to country, don't do that. Like, just literally listen to anything else. Like, you listen to like 2 bricks rubbing against each other, but do not listen to country. Listen to anything else. I beg you, please. Like,
The whole way we pass time on long car rides is that Stephanie just runs the Spotify on her phone in the back seat, and everyone just takes turns requesting songs. We just cycle, and that passes the time. Both because you're just
I
listening to
wish.
different music, and because you're also like kind of like making your own mental playlist of what songs you want to request, which gives you a thing to think about whenever you're not talking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
I
it's
just
a
put my
good
headphones
dynamic.
in and do not engage.
Wow, you're not even going to talk to Stephanie?
I didn't
Rude.
say I was going to talk to Stephanie, but like that's the most of my experience in a car is just not engaging. It's like just detaching and looking out the window and being like, God, in 30 minutes, maybe I'll be free of this long, unnecessary transportation system.
Hey,
I would
Toaster.
like to just
I-
not have to.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another reason why public transportation is better, because it's so much easier to just, chat and engage with each other while traveling.
Oh, I just realized I responded, but what actually just happened? I thought Keith just said my name, but I was scrolling
did, yeah.
Twitter. Okay, I
Yeah,
was
no,
very
I said, hey,
confused for a
Toaster,
second.
but then the conversation kept going, so I was like, well, read it out again. Hey,
I
Toaster,
was
ready to be
scrolling
somebody's
Twitter-
wingman?
Sure.
My
I'm
name
happy
is
to be
Mike, and I'm going
wingman.
to my first furry convention at the end of August, Furrydelphia, and I'm super pumped. I don't have a group that I'm going with, as I don't currently have many friends in the fandom, and none of my friends really know I'm a furry. I've got it in my Twitter name, and I've messaged some people, but I'm inept at talking to new people online for the most part, and was wondering if any of you had any advice on how to meet new furries, and could even share how you all met. Also, if you had any conversation on what to expect at my first con.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked a lot about what to expect at a first con before.
Yeah,
To
you can
give
watch
the
our
summary
Las Vegas
there.
FurCon episode for that.
Yeah, you can just watch that. We go over every single thing. My advice for how to meet people at cons, though, is that like you're all there to be at a con, so find a spot that has people at it and sit around and people and like just be open and friendly and like smile at people as they walk by and say like, oh, I like your fursuit or whatever, and they'll just talk to you. Like one of the things that we did at LVFC was like hang out in the game room, and I was playing rhythm games, and a lot of the rhythm games are 2-player, so when the machine next to me was free, someone would come up and be like, I've never played this before, and I'd be like, here, like this is how you do it. This is the OK button, and then you go ahead. You can pick a song, and then they'll be like, "Oh, I like this Vocaloid song," and you're like, "Yeah, it's sick, dude." And then you talk, and then that's how you make friends. Another good example is we were just I was playing like Guilty Gear on a cabinet. Some person came over to play. We played like 4 rounds, and then they were like, just I beat them, and they were like, oh man, like Anji's so hard to beat, and I was like, yeah dog, he's tough, he's my favorite character, do you play Strive? And they were like, yeah dude. And then we just talked about that. Like it's you just slide in like a little bit of bait for lack of a better word, and then they bite it, and then you just have you reel them in with the conversation. The biggest piece of
hope
advice is to just
Furrydelphia
not
is like the local con or something.
Yes.
I hope you're not flying and like traveling expensively for a con where you're not meeting anyone there, because that is the infamous recipe for just sort of like wasting a trip and coming back sad. Is people that
Yes.
like they never power through to actually like interacting and meeting with anyone, so they just kind of awkwardly drift around in circles for 3 days and then go home.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gotta be miserable.
But it's
I
up
mean,
to you. You have the power.
Yeah, you just got to go do stuff.
Download
and,
Bark.
Talk to people. I guess you could do that. I mean, hey, download Grinder and then put in your profile. I don't want to hook up. I just want to make friends. Message me if you like cats, and then people will talk to you. Like it's fine.
Oh,
Don't do that. I don't know if whatever, but like that's something you can do.
The community is so small sometimes. I just googled Furrydelphia, and one of the first things I got was official art for Furrydelphia 2022 last year, and it's by Martial Arts, who's in our Discord.
Interesting.
I'm like, I know this artist.
but yeah, I don't know. I feel like making friends is just like people get in their own heads about it, and they get nervous about sharing their opinions, and they get nervous about like existing in a social space.
Yes.
And like there's no secret. You just have to stop. You just have to not care about that. And then like I know that sucks to hear, but like you do just kind of have to get good. Like you just need to be like, all right, I'm going to put myself out there because there are no consequences. Hi everyone, and then people will talk to you. and then you'll make friends, and that's how you make friends. So yeah, it's
and also
fine.
when it goes really wrong, it usually goes really wrong. So you have a fun story to talk about how you completely fumbled a conversation with a stranger.
Exactly.
It's like, oh no, I was way over my head, and that happened.
I basically never heard of Philadelphia, but pretty much every furry convention is essentially like, unlike nerd cons that are about merch and caring about IPs and stuff, furry conventions are mostly a party.
Yeah. So you're just like, seriously, like truly, one of the best ways to make friends is to like pin up in a place, and then just like, if you see someone who is wearing, like, someone walks by with like a pin from an anime you like, be like, oh, hey, I like your pin. Don't like chase them down, but if you're both standing there awkwardly and not engaged in a conversation, be like, oh, hey, I like your pin. My favorite character is Saber from Fate, and they'll be like, oh, I like Archer, and then you make out, and that's how you make friends for God. It's not hard. It's pretty simple. You're all getting in your heads about it. You don't need to worry too much about it. Just have fun. Just, I'm rooting for you, champ.
I would never.
Yeah,
I would never.
You could.
It would have to be in this town. It would have to be I drive to the convention situation. I would never just solo go to a convention. That's wild.
Oh, sure.
I better be doing a panel or something.
I thought you meant you would never start a conversation with someone, and I was
no,
like,
I'm saying like this is exactly what I would never do, is just go to a convention alone with no plan of who to meet up with, or like anyone that I know there. That's just
that's the worst feeling. Is just not having
I'd have
any
to be
anchor.
driving there. Like, it has to be like right here, and there isn't one.
Like,
yeah, I mean
that's the downside of a plainclothes convention too. Like, especially if you go to a furry convention and you don't have a fursuit, like it's hard. At an anime convention, there are so many cosplayers that you can start a conversation with anyone just by being like, oh man, I love your costume. How long did it take to make? Like, that's so sick. Is it really uncomfortable to wear? Like, you can just like literally talk about literally what you see. At a furry convention, if you're not wearing a fursuit or someone else isn't, they can't really talk about, there's nothing to talk about other than like, whatever they see you directly displaying. So don't be afraid to like wear I don't know, let your freak flag fly, wear your Naruto headband, like have a good time. It's fine. You're around good people.
Conventions seem like this place that I don't know. I feel like I would die going to a convention.
They're a lot of fun. I like them.
Have you not been to an anime convention?
Yeah, and I hated it. Like, it was so cringy. Everyone there was like, the entire reason I don't do anime discourse on Twitter, where I was like, I don't want to engage with any of you. I want all of you to cease existing, but I still want anime to exist. Like, I don't want any of this here. I wanted to come to this anime convention, buy some merch, see some voice actors, and then not see anyone else at all, ever. No, none of you dressed up, none of you around. Just, I want all of you gone.
Most of the people at a convention are not what you want to see.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not there for the people at a convention. I'm there for the things that the convention offers me. It's like a lot of conventions don't seem appealing to me, but that seems extra unappealing, where like the convention is about interacting with the people. Like, that is what a furry convention essentially is. You're not there they're not like selling furries. They're not it's like the premise, anime is very just a commercial product. It's 100% there to just get you to buy shitty products you don't need, and then maybe you can see a guy who like voiced a character that you're uncharacteristically infatuated with, and would actually hate in real life, but you seem to pretend like you actually love them. And then you can get their autograph for some reason, and then you could just go home and then have a good time. But a furry convention is very much about the people. It's about the interactions with people. It's about the the community, and that sounds terrifying. What you just show up and someone wears a Naruto headband, and you're like, I know that. And then that's it. Like, I'm not gonna I don't want to talk to them. They're wearing a Naruto headband. That's weird. I'm just gonna I'd be like, yeah, that's a Naruto headband. Like, I see that. I don't know. You see like I'll see people wearing anime clothes all the time in public, and I'm like, I know that anime. I know that anime. I know that anime.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not gonna talk to them. I'm not gonna walk up and be like, hey, I like that anime. I mean, I don't, because they're all wearing like Demon Slayer and Naruto shirts. But you know, like you can see them and be like, yeah, I know the anime. I know that character. That's cool. And I'm sure they'd be excited. They'd be like, oh my god, somebody knows about this character. But it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
People
Well,
are
I
just
think
wired
that's what I'm saying
differently.
though, and like maybe it's a little bit manipulative, but like this is just what talking to people is. Like if you want,
sure,
you gotta grease palms and lick hands or whatever the terminology is, kiss babies. Where like the whole point is like maybe like I don't like Naruto. I don't care about Naruto. I've seen like 5 episodes of Naruto since I was in 5th
Somebody
grade.
has to be the conversation dom.
Yeah, so you just
Yeah.
had like when I see someone in a Naruto shirt and I think like, oh, they look like they're having a good time and I want to have a conversation with someone, I look at their Naruto shirt and then I go into my mind palace and I remember a character from Naruto and I'm like, I really oh man, you watch Naruto? I love Rock Lee. He has like big eyebrows. And they're like, "Oh, I love Rock Lee. You noticed me. Validation." And then you start a conversation with someone. And then like that's like literally just how you do social stuff. And it's an enjoyable time. And yeah, I've started conversations with like I'm being 100% sincere. Like most people don't remember the first interaction they have with each other. So, especially in a big, busy social environment, like just talk to people, just say things like they won't remember. And if it goes poorly, they won't remember you. And if it goes great, you have a new best friend. Problem solved.
It's the high school thing all over again.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
Andrew and I
exactly.
used to know a conversation dom. Like she would just plow through all of the awkward initial elements of talking to anyone. She would just approach strangers at like the student union and other stuff, and then just kind of like within 5 minutes she had like their phone number and was like dragging them over like, here's our new friend and stuff like that. And that's essentially directly how I got on the trajectory to meeting Marty and doing tabletop stuff at his house and then living at his house was because she was just this force to be reckoned with socially that just mashed people together and no one was entirely sure what was happening.
It's
There's just people that can just go.
I'm very much the kind of person I am is I will not engage unless I have to, but if I have to, then I will be good about it. Like I very much am an on-demand politician. Like if like a stranger walked up to me, it would suddenly be like, oh yeah, this guy's amenable and he is very polite and nice. But then like I will just walk away. I will find a way to not be in the conversation as fast as possible. And like I that's why like cons, I just don't go to conventions for that particular reason. I know I'm not built for this. I'm not built for this kind of interaction level. And I not to be rude, but I don't also care. I'm pretty fine. Like when I meet new people, it tends to be on accident because of someone else. But if I was just like sitting alone in a room and no one ever talked to me, I would not be upset. And it's not like that I don't care about my friends, but it's like I don't have that need. I don't have a need for socialization. So the idea of like a convention is kind of like that. You want to find people that are within your same sphere of interest and hobbies, and you want that social interaction. But yeah, I don't I don't need that. So then the appeal of like a convention drops dramatically. Like half of its appeal goes away. Where the idea is that you're culminating a lot of people together that are going to be like-minded, interested, and have a good time with one another. And worst case, you have people like, I don't agree about characters or whatever, but they're not people that vehemently hate. Like you're not going to go to an anime convention and people are like, I fucking hate anime. It's like, what are you doing here? What, did you get lost? Like, So like
that was my first experience at Midwest Fur Fest, was getting in an elevator and immediately hearing people saying, I fucking hate this convention. And it hadn't even started yet.
That is a thing.
Wild.
Like people will have like have takes about the convention, but at the same time, like that just happens everywhere. It doesn't it's not even a furry convention thing.
Furries are also a bit of a strange experience where like you have these people that drag their fursuits around in these giant bins that are all like travel safe and everything, and like they just have their routine down and they're just touring the conventions like a band tours the country, but they're just some guy doing it just to go to all the like they just go to several conventions per year, and they like to the point where they find themselves spending thousands of dollars to go on trips to places they don't like because they don't even like that convention anymore. But that's like how they socialize, and it's part of their just yearly routine. And it's like it becomes like the Overwatch of conventions, where it's for some reason they're still doing it even though it's expensive and time consuming.
Yeah.
Humans are weird. That's the shocking takeaway. No one knows what they're doing or why.
They're fine. I like to go to them and then hang out.
I know what I'm doing and why.
And then
I've never been to a convention. Apart from work, that doesn't count.
Yeah, I do a lot
convention.
of like business conventions, and business conventions are somewhat more palpable to me because I know everyone's there being fake. There's like something comforting in knowing that every interaction is with people that are equally in your same mindset of like, God, I want to go the fuck home. Like, so there's something nice about work conventions. They are still a huge waste of time, but
there's people who fake the pleasure of being at a work convention so well that makes me feel guilty. Seeing them work so hard to seem like super excited.
Oh, that's me.
Have you ever seen those people?
I'm like, no, I am that kind of person.
Colonel, they're not faking. They're just on a lot of cocaine. That's what that's for. That's what that was invented for.
that would, yeah.
I wish there was like I'm trying to remember what convention it was. It was like some Apple convention in San Francisco. And I remember going to it, and it was like just getting to there was a nightmare. On my way to there, on my way to that convention, I had to walk from a hotel I was staying at to the convention center. Because don't drive in San Francisco. It's actually not worth your time.
It is not.
And
Keith and I learned that the hard way. San Francisco driving, very bad experience. Not fun at all.
Yeah. No. And so I walked.
Got a story out of it though. That's the moral of today, apparently.
Every driving in San Francisco comes with a story. It's just a free part of the driving experience.
Yeah.
You get a free story.
No,
about
you got a story of me driving into oncoming traffic when we drove in San Francisco.
I was just about to say our story is you like literally going the wrong direction and down a hill, mind
Those
you.
Those roads are
like the
fucked
worst
up.
possible place.
Those are fucked up. Well, it wasn't the worst possible place because it was empty.
Oh, true, but I meant like you don't want to. If you're going the wrong direction, you don't want to also do it down a hill. Like that's the least, good place to do that.
San Francisco is such a disorienting environment to drive in. You forget how to drive.
Yeah.
Immediately, you're like, what the fuck? How do I even navigate this? Nothing looks right.
I'm used to busy towns and cities. So
it's not even that it's busy necessarily. It's the roads are incomprehensible. Every road has different rules and different thicknesses and looks different and is marked different, and the lights keep changing position and shape and size and appearance like they're trying to hide in an I Spy book. And then every other road just goes up or down a hill, so it looks like a sheer cliff until you're 5 feet away from it because you can't see down it in your car. It's a nightmare.
You need to trust that it's not a sheer cliff.
Like I've been in San Francisco, even just letting my mom drive. I'm like, here, just chill, it's fine. She's confident, whatever. And she ran several red lights.
Oh no!
Because there's several parts of San Francisco where suddenly the only light is like a tiny little stick in the middle of the road, sticking straight up with vertical lights on it, and you have to like spot it over there now when you're used to lights sticking out horizontally over the road. And they're just like, they keep changing where the lights are and what they look like throughout the town. And there's no, like the entire, it's like the reason why roundabouts are terrifying when there's like one roundabout as opposed to a town that's full of roundabouts. Like it's standardization. Like if there's one roundabout in a 50 square mile radius, then you're like, I don't trust a single person to know how to drive in this thing. That thing's terrifying. And like similarly, like just the whole reason why driving is ever safe and reliable and navigable for people is that it's based on really consistent rules and things look consistent and you can tell what you're looking at a glance and you don't have to question what's happening. Because the moment you have to question what's happening, you're dealing with Overwatch noise where you're like, what even happened here?
Yeah.
Except you died in a car crash.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, you can't change. You can't be like avant-garde about your fucking city layout and street shapes and light placements, because then people don't know what the rules are or where they're looking, and they're like, oh, like, because if you don't immediately spot an over the street like stoplights, then you just think, oh, everyone else has to yield or has lights. This must be a through street for me. And then you spot the weird secret light too late, and you're almost in a car crash. Like, it's fucked up. San Francisco's a fucked up town. Toaster and I drove in a circle like 8 times in one area, just trying to find how to get to like the pier or the wharf, you know, like the famous one. We looped like 8 times trying to find where you can even park anywhere. Like, where are you allowed to stop the car? And because you're always in the flow of traffic and there's infinite weird curbs and one-way roads and don't turn this way signs, we just couldn't actually find a place to stop in any way.
Yeah, we couldn't get. So the thing that we found is that like the parking garage that we wanted to get to, there was like maintenance on one road, so we couldn't get to it. And then the only other roads with doorways to get into the parking garage were one-ways. But we couldn't get to the one-ways because the parking garage was on the other side of the road. Exactly. So we were like, how the fuck do we get over here?
It's one of those things where even the GPS can't save you, because it also doesn't know how to play this game. Like, nobody knows the answers. It's like when you look up a walkthrough and it's just like a video playthrough of somebody losing the level. Like, nobody knows how to solve San Francisco. And yet there's like infinite people everywhere somehow functioning, and you're like, what the fuck? What did they do? And you can't ask them because you're stuck in a car driving in circles.
From an outside perspective, as in when you don't have to get anywhere.
I would have parked a mile away and walked if I could, but I also couldn't figure out how to do that.
From an outside perspective, that sort of notion is, I like it. It's beautiful. Like a whole city full of people.
Cool, you can drive.
Navigating this. No, I can't. No, I don't
you
want to
can
get
star in that fucking Doctor Who episode where they've been stuck in traffic
because then
before
it's not
they were
an outside
born.
perspective anymore. I want to look at everybody and be like, oh, look at this majestic amount of people just going about in this maze. And they have things to do. I don't want to have things to do.
You're gonna fuck around and find out about Kafkaesque nightmares. You're like, oh, I only like to enjoy the Kafka nightmare from afar. To respect it and admire it. But if it happens here, suddenly the betrayal has happened. The Kafkaesque nightmare has to be full of people, but it's not allowed to have me in it. I'm not allowed to be one of the people.
Yeah.
Like an ant farm.
Like the thing is, here, like Porto is a city that it's considerably harder to navigate than Lisbon. Being this, Lisbon is the capital and Porto is the second biggest city, which is close to where I live, or I live in the suburbs. And like driving in Porto is a little bit of a, it's a little bit of a nightmare, but I don't think it's as bad as San Francisco by the sounds of it. And also Portuguese people probably drive better than American people anyway. But I'm used to driving there, so it's like I'm very comfortable in that sort of situation. It doesn't mean that I would be comfortable driving in San Francisco. What I'm saying is, I can't appreciate the madness of the traffic. It's not even that mad, but either way, I can't appreciate the sort of the paradigm of Porto as a sort of a busy city that somebody from outside would arrive to and see and look and be like, hey, look at this machine, basically. But I can't appreciate that in other cities because I don't know them as well or at all. And American cities sort of fascinate me. They're a little bit scary, obviously, because of course, but it fascinates me that because it's millions of people. San Francisco is 1.9 million, right? Or 1.
We don't know.
Probably.
I don't know.
Do you know this sort of number? Because I don't.
I remember. I'm kind of good with numbers, but I'm often wrong, so I'm bad with numbers.
The San Francisco fascination runs so deep.
The number that comes to my mind is 1.9. So
population is just a stat that like is in one ear out the other. Like in my head, it's like, yeah, Tokyo's big.
The population
is pretty big. Like
population
New York
of San Francisco
is 800,000.
Yeah, it's like
So
800,000, which
yeah.
is
It's enormous. It's a
that
lot.
much.
It's a lot of people.
Is it? Is it?
I mean, it's
The
a
San
small.
Francisco metro area is pretty huge. I
Yeah.
don't San Francisco.
Oh no, the
proper,
metro
there's-
area is 4.6 million. That's different.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
It's always
I'm looking at the
wild to ever
Wikipedia.
try to translate and compare both landmass sizes and population sizes and like travel durations between like Europe and America and how like
yeah, because
like,
American.
it's like you don't
America has
understand
sprawl.
what it's like here. You don't
But
understand.
America has sprawl though. So if you go into the actual city and county, then you kind of remove that sprawl a little bit. When you talk about like bigger cities and metro areas specifically, then it's just in a big, vast area. And
All that
obviously with
matters
a lot of
is
people.
that San Francisco won't be here forever, and that pleases me as a person. I am glad to know that we as a society have destroyed the planet so we could destroy San Francisco. And that is a comforting thought. It just will sink like it should into the ocean and never be
Together with Florida.
I don't know what Florida streets are like, but I don't want San Francisco to be a part of us anymore.
I mean,
want it
San
to be
Francisco's
wiped
literally
away.
on mountains.
It's gonna sink last.
That's why
its
that's why
foundation-
it's so frustrating to drive in.
Its foundation is very unstable and it is slowly sinking.
Is
Is it, or is that made up? What are you talking about?
No, it is. There are. I'm not going to research it right now. There are a bunch of skyscrapers that are not doing well. They're like
Yeah.
slowly sinking into the foundation of San Francisco, and the city itself isn't very like it's halfway on a hill. It's not a mountain. It's halfway on a hill.
I thought you were doing that thing we'd always hear back in the 90s where people just didn't understand what tectonic plates were and thought that they thought that they would always talk about San Francisco like it was going to sink or like break off of America and float away or something. And like just fundamentally, I'm like, bro, it's a subduction plate. It does what the fuck? The ocean come this way.
No, I it's just gonna crash into Oakland. San Francisco collides into it like a giant fucking car.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, Oakland, Francisco. Great. I'm so excited.
And then when you're talking about the San Andreas fault, that's also not like a rift that's opening or anything. It's a transform fault, so it's sliding downward, but not much. Not in an appreciable way in human scales.
I imagine that the water will rise enough that it will start causing issues with its own city systems, and it will finally just go away. It's such a bad city. It is like unquestionably one of the worst cities I've ever been to in California. And I've been to a lot of Californian cities. I've been to some of the worst ones I could think of. Actually, almost all of the worst ones I could think of are near San Francisco. I think that's on purpose. Do they just purposely build bad stuff near that place? I'm trying to hold on. Let me look at the map.
I'm looking at a picture.
I'm coming from a different world here, and like I've lived on the East Coast, and I've lived in Los Angeles, and like
you've lived almost exclusively in cities.
Nice ass city, like compared to most cities. Like San Francisco.
I'm looking at
actually.
I'm looking at a picture. We keep talking about San Francisco and about how bad it is in this podcast, but I'm looking at a picture, and it's literally like they just plastered an orthographic plan for a city on top of the hilly the terrain.
Yes.
It's like they're playing city skylines, but don't care about the 17% incline in the freaking
yes, that is in fact what San Francisco is. Now,
and
San
the only
Francisco
reason
isn't
some
like
bits
the most
don't
amazing
have
city, but
it's like my my Sims, the bad Sims, like SimCity 4 or whatever the fuck it was called, where where I in my town I had a freeway that went up a mountain, like just straight up a cliff, and people just would drive up the cliff.
The only reason that some bits don't have houses is because the when you have roads that are too steep, that thing shows up where you can't build, and that's it. That's what happens.
I spent most of my day yesterday, or like early afternoon and stuff, in Sacramento proper. And Sacramento is a great city. I like Sacramento a lot. It is so cute and not too big, and there's a lot of cool stuff there. Shout outs to Sacramento, the forgotten city. It's a
Sacramento, California.
Forgot? It's our capital. What do you mean forgotten? Who forgot it?
Ask any person not in California what the capital of California is, and they'll be like,
Los
San
Angeles,
Francisco, Los Angeles,
yeah, everybody
San
knows.
Diego.
No, nobody knows
God,
San
could you
Diego.
imagine-
Nobody knows
Could you
San
imagine
Diego.
if LA was the capital of California?
I
What an
know it would be
embarrassment.
awful.
I
It would
would
have been
die.
so bad.
God.
No, Sacramento rules though. I saw Oppenheimer in 70mm IMAX. It was my review is it was pretty good. If you want to go see it, you're allowed to.
There's so many trees. I'm looking at pictures.
Barbie yesterday. That was what I did.
Looks like Paris.
I want to see it
Sacramento
so
does,
bad.
except less good.
Sacramento's nice.
I definitely. Barbie's definitely. I'm not the target demo for that.
I would like to move back to
obviously.
Sacramento.
Sacramento's fine. I think its downtown area is very questionable. There's a lot of things that could work really well with it if they just would commit to doing good things with San Francisco. It has some of like, it has the potential.
You mean Sacramento?
Or Sacramento? Sorry, yeah. Sacramento has like a lot of good
Sacramento, California.
that it has a yeah, it has there's a lot of options in Sacramento that, or sorry, there are a lot of systems in Sacramento that look like they could be really good if someone just actually sat down and took the time to finish them.
Yeah.
Like there's a rail state, there's like a street-based rail car that is really useful for getting around the city, but it also has to interact with cars, so cars can just cut it off. And
yeah,
why
with trams?
Just commit to the tram, put it in the center of the damn road, and have it going with your cars on either side. Don't do that.
Sacramento, California.
That's not tram. That's light
That was
rail.
so
It's
startling.
different.
That was out of nowhere.
What happened?
That audio played just out of nowhere with no correlation to what was happening around it.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
The soundboard, I think, or something.
The Sacramento, California thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that played like 30 seconds ago for us.
Yeah, it just
yeah.
played like a second ago for me in the middle
Oh,
of
that's
it.
wild.
I was like, why did Andrew play the
hilarious.
sound clip while he was talking?
While I was talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Andrew talked over himself.
light rail is just so much better than trams, and that's because the distinction is basically, does it interact with traffic? No. Okay.
Yeah, we don't have either. We have like not light rail, not quite.
We have light
and not
rail.
quite-
I follow a
It's-
YouTube channel that talks about stuff
San
like that.
Francisco has a
Oh, no.
light rail, but I wouldn't consider Sacramento as a light rail to be a light rail. It's just a straight line. It doesn't actually go
Yeah.
anywhere. It's just like a completely straight line. Essentially, I'm looking at the light rail now. There's not even a consistency to it. It literally is just someone was like, shouldn't we have this? And then they did, but they didn't like plan it. They didn't think about it. They weren't considering a lot of factors of where they would put stations and what the actual stops would be. It's and this happens a lot in California because there's a little bit too much agency given to cities on what they want and don't want to happen in their cities, and sometimes that impedes a lot of necessity because you get shit where it's like, yeah, like BART is such a great system. Like BART is one of the only BART is one of the only salvaging systems in San Francisco that makes the city even remotely tolerable to go into, because God forbid if you want to go to any of the two fucking bottlenecks that get you in there, which is like the Golden Gate Bridge and whatever that shitty not Golden Gate Bridge is. And like, otherwise you have to go all the way down and around. And no thank you. What an awful way to interact with San Francisco. And BART makes it easy. You can just drive on in. Whoa! But BART doesn't connect to like any of the major cities you want it to, so that way it would be actually a useful system. Because all the other cities said, ew, gross, public transit's for poor people. It's like, okay.
I remember when I was looking into it, I was like, okay, Toaster was down in LA. I live near the capital of my state. Surely there's a train that goes to LA. Surely. And I kept checking and trying to find one.
Make a train.
As somebody that
They're
doesn't
still
know
building
how to use trains, I'm like, there's got to be a train that just goes up and down California, right? That's a sane thing that we would make, right? Like we have two big population centers split by California. it's like a nice straight line, and nope, there's not a train. There is bizarrely trains that like go from like LA to like I think Washington or something and just don't stop anywhere in California. Fuck you. And that's okay, cool. I don't know.
I don't want to call you out, but there is literally a Amtrak that goes from Sacramento Valley Station to Los Angeles Union Station.
I couldn't fucking find it.
Wait,
it's just really expensive. The Amtrak's really expensive, and it's like a mixed service thing. You have to take multiple trains. There's no one train.
Yeah, there's no
there
is no direct line. Yeah. But it is expensive. Most trains are usually not that expensive.
I was gonna say, isn't that the whole
have, like, a
point?
nice
Isn't the whole point that it's the time-consuming, less expensive option?
Yeah,
in
but
the sense
trains being
that,
time-consuming.
Yeah, trains are time-consuming compared to flying.
Well,
they're not. I mean, it depends on
train compared to flying. Yeah, Colonel, trains hardly move faster than cars. They take way longer.
I mean, it depends on where you're going, I suppose. But the check-in takes forever. Like a train, you arrive at the station in 15 minutes. You're good.
You're talking as a European, where the entirety of your continent is the size of California or something.
Okay,
but
yeah, Colonel, you need to understand. Sacramento and Los Angeles are 7 hours away from each other by drive.
That's
so
like
it doesn't matter if you lose an hour to going through security at a plane. The plane is 1,000 times faster than going by train.
The plane is like an hour of airport for a half an hour of flying.
Yeah.
Not even. True. If you're doing a domestic flight, you can just walk in and walk out. There's basically nothing.
Oh yeah, really domestic flights are different. That's true. You're right.
Yeah, if you're going like through another state, maybe it might take you got to get there an hour early. I get to when I travel to LA, I get there like 30 minutes before I have to fly. I don't spend any time in an airport. I just walk in. Here's my shitty I have my app,
all of my flights
card.
are.
Here you go.
I show up super early because I'm afraid of ruining my entire week by fucking up that part of it.
But you're traveling internationally. Just do the pre-check-in. Just do TSA pre-check-ins, and then you don't have to go through. You just walk in and you say like, "Ha, I'm an American. I'm here," and they're like, "Okay, whatever, dude. Everyone's American here. Get in the fucking plane," and then they don't care. Like, it doesn't matter as long as you do the
any
TSA,
system in the world working exactly the way that Andrew describes it.
In general, I like
verbatim.
Even when flying domestic, I like to be there like an hour early, but generally I don't need to worry too much about that. I also fly really early when I can and really late when I can, so I don't need to worry about being there in the peak of traffic. But yeah, there is a train line. The Coast Starlight goes from Sacramento to Los Angeles. It's a really long. That's a 9.5 hour long train ride.
Yeah, it's also important to remember that Amtrak.
Time.
Well, it's also important to remember for European listeners, Amtrak doesn't own its own lines. Amtrak has to rent its lines from commercial railways. So it has to give priority access to commercial trains if they need it, which means Amtrak just stops and can just stop for like 30 minutes at a time because it has to wait for a commercial train to get through. There is no dedicated...
The 2 kilometer long trains. That's part of the fun, though, seeing the commercial train go by, and you're like, oh, look at the machines.
It really isn't. It's so cool to watch oil tankers go by for like the 100th time. Oh my God, is that an oil tanker? Is that an oil tanker? Is that an oil tanker? Like, all it is just giant jugs of liquid being transferred around the United States.
That does make it less fun, actually. Yeah, I thought it was like...
Also, I don't know how long the trains are over there, but here they feel infinite.
Yeah, they would be like mile, like a
they
mile
genuinely feel like you're being punked, like you're trapped in a screensaver. You're like, hang on a minute, I've seen that car before, right? Like it's going in a circle.
Yeah,
here
it is very much
limited,
like that.
I think to the size of the terminals, and it's like 300 meters most.
Also, remember that train stations are also part of the same line for commercials. So you need to be careful because commercial trains don't have to stop at train stations. They will just keep going while you're trying to board and unboard a train. So just be careful that like trains are not for you. They're not for you. They're for business only. You get to ride on them to some idiot. Yeah, in the US. And so you only get to ride on them as a commercial user because some idiot won't just give it up and let the businesses own the train tracks. That's the only reason. So like a lot of this
to live in a universe where we could ride trains, but unfortunately, like Andrew is correct, in the US trains are for freight. Basically, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we had Japan's train system in the United States, there might actually be peace in the world as a whole. We might actually not hate people
And
as much as we do.
might even solve
Like,
climate change a little if that happened.
we would absolutely not have climate change. That would not
we
be
would
a
still have a
problem.
little bit
We would-
climate change.
Nope, not
a little
even
bit.
close.
No, okay.
If you build a train system as intricate and efficient as Japan's in like just even California, you would devastate the amount of carbon output we do constantly.
No, but
Like,
there's a lot of other sources as well. But
like if I want to
yeah,
get to my hometown, I literally have to drive. There are no options to get to my stupid fucking hometown but driving, and it has both a train station and what's it called, and an airport in it.
what?
Yeah, isn't that fucking weird?
There's
The
no like
airport-
buses or anything.
Well, you can't
At
take a bus in
least?
between
Oh.
two cities.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't?
Bus riding in the U.S. is not a great. It's
I-
generally
yeah,
done on
I
a
know,
county
but-
level. It's generally done on
Yeah.
a county level, and the second you need to make a transfer, you're paying
Oh, I
usually fines.
see.
You're spending a ton of money, and you're spending a lot of time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not a great experience. And plus,
It's-
why would you want to be
wow.
on a fucking community transit bus for 4.5 hours to get like a distance away you could drive in 45 minutes? Like, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I am not going to sit on.
'cause you
I'm
can
not going to sit on a
multitask.
bus to go to my hometown. No, I
Well,
can't.
but 4
Not with-
hours
not with
instead of
Americans in the
45
car.
minutes. With American.
They hang
They're
out,
so
and they
loud. They're
read,
so
and
obnoxious.
write, play
Everyone
video
is
games,
everyone is fucking rude here.
get
I
mugged.
would
like-
I would love to be able to play video games on the bus, but the 27 people having full volume conversations on their phone on the bus while the kids are
very
watching
rude.
TikToks without headphones on.
That is very rude.
Unfortunately, no amount of noise canceling can solve this problem.
I was in
I've just still never done public transport. The only
If you
public transit
talk-
I've ever done is school buses.
If you talk louder than a whisper on the bus, I'm putting you in jail. Like, you are going.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
I am
This is-
fully of the opinion that if you are on public
All
transit,
the loud people go
you
on
treat
the
it
bike
like
rack.
a fucking library.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
The
The noise I want to
be
hear is
quiet.
the road, or the
Yes.
or the rails. That's what you hear.
That's the
And-
problem, because Toasters had that little bit of experience in a functional society that has some kind of
Yes.
like ability to care about other people around themselves. And it is nice. When you get on a train in like Japan, you're like, oh, okay. And you just sit there and you just ride a train. Maybe you'll hear some
the
teenagers
life.
every now and again, but it's very like
This just
on
adds to the ambiance. Yeah.
Yeah, on the majority, people just sit there and just are trying to get to a destination. They're just
Yeah.
reading or watching something on their phone with headphones in. Everyone's really like to themselves. No, you don't hear like the sound of talking or shouting or
Yeah.
music, and it's nice. It's delightful, even, I would dare say. And then you like go to a single American anything, and it sounds like someone's trying to murder you audibly, and you're like, I don't why.
Well, I rode
what's
the
curse?
I rode the New York Metro a couple of times, and I don't remember it being. I mean, it was loud, but the Metro is loud itself. But I don't remember a lot of people talking.
The
Maybe it's
station
different.
is so fucking loud. It's so loud in those fucking
It-
stations.
Yeah, it's it's tunnels and
And
giant
and
machines.
it echoes, and there's like
Yeah.
loud sounds going over the intercom all the time. People are just shouting constantly. There's people that are like haggling on the sides of like
I didn't see
every part of train stations.
that. I
it's
did
just-
see somebody preaching and being, Jesus Christ will save you.
Yep.
and
Yeah. You'll sometimes you'll
happened?
get like there's one. I can't go to shop at the grocery store because there's a fucking guy with a megaphone that shouts about how God is important. Like, I
You
cannot
can
stress
just
enough.
go by that guy. You can just like, okay.
Or I could just live in a place that doesn't have that fucking asshole on the side of the street. You know, there's places in this world that don't have these people, that don't have rude, obnoxious, loud people around all the time. Just shut up and live your life. You know, we have a system to make your voice heard. It's called voting. do it, and then shut up, get away from me.
Twitter.
Like I don't want it. I don't. Yeah, great. We have 15 social media platforms to you to be fucking obnoxious on. You can go vote at the polls if you care about something so much. Shut the hell up. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to anyone. I want to see your head down when you're outside. Don't look at anybody. Don't talk to anybody. Do your shit. Go home. Then you can talk to people. I want it quiet. I want it peaceful. I'm tired of
I do want
Andrew
outside
on dating
to be
apps.
quieter.
It's loud.
That should be
It's
Andrew's
so
dating
loud.
app profile.
I like the outside. What do you mean the outside? Like just the streets?
I want to be the inverse of Daredevil. I want to just never hear anything again. I don't want any sounds to ever permeate my fucking eardrums. No, because a deaf person can still sense vibrations. I don't want any
don't
sense.
Want that.
Just leave me alone. I just want peace. Like that's all I want. It's so obnoxious.
This is very funny because Andrew's the loudest person I've ever met.
Yeah,
I am, but it's a product of my environment. If I am like
nature versus nurture.
It's very much like in Japan, I am the nicest, politest, quietest person. Just nothing.
Well, you
I don't
say
make a
that.
sound.
What do people in
I've
Japan
been there.
say about you?
Yeah,
if you
can we
say
get
that?
a customer survey of everyone that's met Andrew in Japan?
Go for it. You know what? You know what they'll say? I don't know who he is because I never fucking saw him. He never did anything. He never talked to me. I just blended in. I was so good at blending into Japan. I bet people thought I lived there. Like I didn't bother anybody. Even when I got lost, I didn't even bother a person. I sat there for a second. I don't know what I'm doing. Walked off to the side, looked on my phone, Googled how to do it. Okay, I figured out how to do a train, and then I did the train.
That
Easy.
is very.
I don't have to.
Good.
You know what an American would do? I don't get it. Like, oh my God, please take a moment. Let's chill out. You can Google. We invented it for you. Go ahead and Google how to do this thing, or go talk to the booth. There's a guy at a booth and he'll give you information. But you don't have to be a fucking asshole about it. And that's nice. But you don't get that option here. You don't get that luxury. I literally went to the movie to go see the fucking Barbie movie, and a lady tried to buy coins or tried to buy a shitty arcade thing for her kid so that he could play some arcade game in the thing, and it didn't work. And instead of just going, it didn't work, maybe I'll just go and ask what's going on, she stood at the thing that didn't work and shouted, "The thing isn't working. How do I get it working?" Why? Why are you here? Why? Like, I literally wanted to go snap her card in half and throw it on the ground and be like, now it's not a problem for you anymore. You literally cannot use the system. Go the fuck home. Like, shut up. Just shut
Chaotic
up.
energy.
Like,
She just stood at the machine yelling at the air.
Yeah, she's yelling at a person at the customer service window, but didn't just go over to it. She's shouting in the assumption that they will come over and assist her. She is shouting just to be seen, and it's just so obnoxious. You don't need to live your life like this. I'm sorry you feel that way, but honestly, don't. Just don't do this. Don't be like this.
I'm of the same mind. If you want to know what I would have done if I put my card in the crank machine game and it didn't work, I'd be like, wow, guess I just lost like $4. Cool.
She didn't even lose money.
And then I would walk
didn't
away.
work. It just didn't take. It just didn't
it just
work.
Didn't even give her.
It didn't give her any money. She just did the card. It basically declined her, and she made a big deal about it. Like,
I would, at that point, I literally would have been like, the amount of effort required to even remotely keep thinking about this is too high for my investment. I'm gonna walk away.
Stress. And like, maybe I'm just mentally ill, but I can assure you that I will sit at a store, like at a grocery store, and I will see people visibly and audibly get frustrated because they can't figure out self-checkout stuff.
Oh my
there
God.
is a line for you. Go into
they
the
just
line.
Start harumphing over and over again.
Yes,
The
they're getting mad.
Oh my
they're
God.
stomping their feet. They're just this thing doesn't work. It's so fucking dumb. No, ma'am, you're fucking dumb. You're an idiot. Just use the thing. We literally made a system where you could just put your card on it without swiping it, and it fucking charges you. How easy does it have to be? Please, ma'am, I beg of you. Please, sir, I beseech you. Just shut up and go do a thing that's easier for you. Just why must you insist on why must people in this country insist on doing things hard and then being upset that it's hard? Yes, man, it is hard.
It's like what people were doing yesterday when they were complaining about the fucking modern controls in Street Fighter, being like, oh, the game's too hard to play. And then we're like, well, you can use modern controls. And they're like, that's baby mode. Why would I do that? And it's like, bro, like, you literally just said it was too hard.
The live chat or?
Yes, just people in live chat being mad about modern controls.
Yeah,
like I use modern controls because I'm bad.
So I was like, I tried modern controls. It was harder than classic controls.
Yeah,
they're weird.
And you know what you can do, Keith? You know what you did? You just fucking switched to classic. That was crazy of you. I cannot believe you had the audacity to solve your own fucking problem.
I started on classic, then switched to modern, and then Googled how to play modern because they changed all the buttons. And then
it's changed.
Yeah, but the entire layout's just unrecognizably changed to the point where they don't translate between the two at all. So then I'm like, okay, I got to do some wiki research, and I figured out the modern controls. But then by the end, I was like, I'm definitely playing worse. This is definitely worse than I played classic.
My point with that is less the viability of actual modern controls and just more that people will be like, this thing is too hard, and you can be like, well, there's an easy line for people who have difficulty with the hard line. And then they'll be like, no, that's too easy. That's for babies. And it's like, bro, let your ego
it's like when
go.
People are,
you
it's like
just
when people
said
say
you
they're
can't do the hard thing.
It's like when people say they're struggling at Overwatch, they're like, oh, you should try Moira. And like, I would never demean myself by playing Moira. And you're like,
yeah.
Okay, well, they made a character for you.
I disagree, though. I disagree with this. Moira isn't the easy character.
Moira's the easiest character in Overwatch by such a huge margin that it's comical.
I disagree with this take.
I play every character basically in all of Overwatch, and it's hilarious how easy Moira is. She has zero mechanics to worry about. She doesn't have to worry about providing any kind of utility. She literally just has a do healing and a do damage button, and that's her two buttons, and those two button inputs are universal across all of her skills. They're all split between the same split. Her ult is just do her character but harder and larger for an ult.
Like her problem is mobility and getting out of trouble.
What?
She has an instantaneous escape, omnidirectional, invisible dash that has movement tech. She's the most comically easy character in the game. Like, there's a learning curve where you have to spend like 30 hours clicking like what the fuck exactly is happening with Mercy's crazy tech and dashing and moving and how all that works, where it feels like a fighting game just to dash as her, and she's the supposed easy character. Moira is literally just 100%. It controls like the game normally does, but you just move in super speed for a bit while hitting dash, and you literally disappear with no tell as to where you're going. It escapes almost anything and makes you invisible and invincible, and it comes back every 6 seconds.
It's because nobody punishes the Moira. Like, the people need to be trained. They hear a Moira fade, they should hunt her immediately and kill her.
No level of people reacting correctly to a Moira would change the fact that she's still the easiest character in the entire game.
I don't think so.
She has an insanely easy kit and she's one of the hardest characters to punish. Not because she's so unbalanced and impossible to punish, but because, other characters actually are vulnerable. Like Zenyatta's like, I'm just a sad little floaty man. I can move at this speed only. And I'm always at this height.
But he's long range. Moira is short range.
Yeah. But when Sombra shows up and it's like, fuck you, Zen, he just dies. And when it shows up on the Moira's like, whoop, gone. I disappeared, and you have to guess. And you have to guess where I disappeared to.
You're not listening to me. Sombra doesn't attack a Moira that hasn't faded.
Because she has an escape. Because she's so easy of a character.
No. Sombra should not attack a Moira.
Your counter argument's basically, Moira's killable ever, therefore you're wrong. I'm comparing her to the roster of existing characters where literally every other character is harder to play. And I know that because I put in countless hours in this game.
I think Torbjorn is easier, and I think Soldier is easier than Moira.
No,
I don't.
And
Soldier has to aim.
No,
Lucio is easier than Moira, I think.
Lucio is hilarious.
Movement mechanics.
Lucio not only has incredibly complicated movement tech that people struggle with, but if you aren't actively contributing in some way, you just throw. It's actually hard not to contribute as Moira. It's the only button she has. You can't
But the problem
really
is she's
like
vulnerable.
you get permanent constant stats every second of gameplay. You're always attacking or healing something, and that's the entirety of her character. There aren't like cooldowns to whiff.
You pick a silver Moira and you put her in a master's lobby, and she will just die. She will not do anything.
That's not a point.
No, master's lobby and they die.
No, they don't, because if they're silver, they at least have a bare minimum understanding of the basics of the character.
Colonel,
like
I'm gold 1. What are you talking about?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Silver players are worse than me, and I can't win gold games. My brother in Christ, you are objectively wrong here.
I'm just saying that people think Moira is easy because nobody shoots her when they should. Sombra doesn't attack her after she fades, and people don't shoot her when she fades.
She's just mechanically the easiest character in the game.
Yeah, no, the reason
she has
why
the most
Moira is
easy to use, lowest
to
skill floor
but she's super vulnerable.
The reason why Moira is easy is because her decision making is simple. That's what makes her easy.
But I think it's simple. But the problem is people keep making the wrong choices every time. The
skill ceiling for Moira is that you get a good bounce.
Yeah, even at the highest level of gameplay, though, Moira's decision making on a moment-to-moment basis
it's still simple.
Is simple compared to other characters.
Moira's literally not allowed to be a better character because if she was actually meta viable, she would instantly be the only support. Because of how easy she is.
I disagree.
Because you basically can't fuck her up.
She's super short range. She's like very, very limited in a lot of comps. Like if you want, well, I say in a lot of comps.
Yes, characters aren't. Yeah, and I'm not claiming that there is no character in the game that fits every scenario and is strong against every matchup possible and is equally good at close range and long range and is self-sufficient and has invulnerabilities and escapes and has blah 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 blah. No, because Kiriko has a skill shot kunai, and her heal has travel time.
To play. Yeah, she's difficult, but
people literally run from her heals because they can be faster than the stupid little cards are, and her kunai is a thing she has to manually aim and actually pop off with as a projectile, like it's a shitty Genji thing.
She's very difficult.
And she has a high impact cooldown that she can completely whiff, and it's basically the core identity of her character. And her ult relies on everybody else using it correctly to get value. Moira's ult is just everybody in the entire game gets healed and damaged at once. Fuck you, and I also have super speed and heal myself.
Now that she can fade during her ult is actually useful at higher ranks, but at lower ranks it doesn't matter because nobody shoots her anyway.
Now that I'm playing DPS characters and I'm actually having to deal with how the average ult even works in this game outside of tank and support, it is extremely hilarious that Moira's ult is just a super beam of healing and damaging everyone. And you just
doesn't do that much damage.
You basically can't do it. She does enough that she can kill any character in 4 seconds, and she's doing it to everyone at once.
She dies so fast. A soldier dueling an ulting Moira, if she does not fade, she dies. The soldier only has to have like my level of aim, which is 30%.
Because the difference here is that soldier actually has to have skill. Soldier has to aim his shots and be headshotting the Moira in order to outpace the self-healing that she has. Moira just gets to AD strafe. She just gets to wibble wobble and move frantically because she doesn't have to aim for shit during her ult. That's one of the core struggles with Moira. Moira is so good at hunting down ranged DPS and so on because all she has to do is VoIP into somebody's close range area and just pop her cooldowns and no skill the enemy down. While they're fuck, I have 0.2 seconds to successfully pull this headshot off at close range when I was trying to snipe down there, or I'm gonna die right now. And then they die.
The only time Moira is that deadly is when she close range in close quarters, or in like a room. She throws a damage orb on you and jumps you. That's how a Moira.
Yeah, the thing I just said. The thing I described in detail just now, and then you said no, and then said the thing I said.
You weren't talking about her ult?
No, I said you dash into somebody and you pop all your cooldowns. Like, Moira is so deadly to so many skill levels because at lower ranks, these people are playing high skill characters that are actually challenging to pop off and you can only defeat someone. Shut up and let me finish the sentence. I'm saying that at these lower levels, you can only defeat the Moira by successfully headshotting her and actually killing her faster. Because the way that Moira works, she has both a low skill floor and a low skill ceiling, in that she literally cannot deal damage faster. There is no headshot mechanic. There is no be cooler, stronger. Please just let me say the thing. You keep saying no when I know I'm right. I'm saying objective things, but you're just cutting it off constantly. Like Moira is literally just a stats character. She does this much damage per second, period. Her one cooldown does this much damage per second, period. That's all it does. So she is 100% like hitting a time trial in a level. Like, oh, it's the beginning of Metroid. You have 2 minutes to escape the facility before it explodes. Except it's Moira just VoIPed into your closer range, and you will now die in 1.5 seconds if you don't successfully kill her. And she gets to AD strafe, she gets to dash around, she gets to play like a reckless weird lunatic hopping around because she doesn't have to actually do anything skill-oriented. And you're this poor Ash trying to headshot her when she's 2 feet away from you and flying around like a Genji, and she never misses her shots because all she has to do is vaguely point her screen at you, and she already launched the ball, so that part's already a foregone conclusion. Your option is to perfectly headshot her, ending the fight instantly, or try to escape, or hope that someone saves you and pockets you, because until you get to the point where the skill level of people that are playing these DPS characters can actually instantly react to and kill a Moira in 0.5 seconds, she just wins most of those duels, and that's why she's the easiest character in the game. That's like inarguably why she's a comically easy character.
That's like saying like a Reinhardt is a super easy character because it wins most of the duels. Yeah, it's true that Reinhardt will duel most characters down and kill them one-on-one. But the problem is the mobility of Reinhardt makes it actually very challenging tank to.
Yeah, you just defeated your own argument. Thank you.
No. You're saying
like it takes work to hunt people down as Reinhardt, and the entire match knows exactly where you are, and you are instantly outranged by anybody even slightly escaping.
Because
Moira is not easily outranged. Moira can often suck Pharahs out of the sky.
Come on, she's slow if she doesn't fade. Her ball is actually easy to avoid if you're looking at it. And what I'm saying is, like, people know how to kill a Reinhardt. Well, sometimes they know how to kill a Reinhardt. I've seen a lot of stuff, but like all you have to do is take high ground and shoot.
I mean, are you going to try to claim Reinhardt's easier to play than Moira? Is that the argument you're making?
No, my argument is that you can.
What character is easier to play than Moira?
Torbjorn and Soldier.
No,
I don't.
No,
yeah. Soldier.
Torb needs the headshot. Torb and Soldier both need the headshot.
But
so.
Yeah.
No, Torbjorn. All you have to do for Torbjorn, all you have to do is old meta. I don't know the new Torbjorn because they nerfed the turret. But all you have to do is have a basic understanding of flanking and using the turret to flank. And
that's already more complicated than any decision.
The Moira, what you have to do is understand ranges of all the enemies that you're facing, and understand the range of your fade as well. Like, to use a Moira properly, you need to be ready to fade away and know where you're fading away at every moment. Because the problem with Moira, and what I'm trying to say is, people know how to kill the Reinhardt, but people seemingly don't know how to kill the Moira. Like, you should never find yourself in a duel with a Moira if you're in an Ashe, for example, because the Moira should never reach you. If she's reaching you, then either you play for distance and you deny the value to the Moira, so the Moira is basically not healing or not doing damage because she's after you. And that's why Lucio is fun to play, because you can run away from tanks and stuff. Like, it's so obvious, especially now with 5v5. In 6v6 it was a little bit different, but now in Overwatch 2 it's very easy to tell when you're just wasting people's time as a Lucio. I know other characters as well. The Soldier can do that as well. But basically, people are running after you and they're not getting value while they're running after you, and you are getting value if you're in a defensive position. That's a good value. But with a Moira, like, the problem is all my argument. Like, we can go deeper, but my argument is this: people don't shoot the Moira after she fades. What they do is she faded away. She's running away from me. I don't need to worry about her anymore, or for a little bit. And that's the wrong thing to do with a Moira. What you need to do is, she faded and now she dies. And they don't do that. Do you know what I mean?
So I think
and that's why to know how to play the Moira, if you're playing against rubes that don't do that, obviously you don't need to know how to play the Moira in the first place. You just right click on them. But if you're playing against people who actually shoot you after you faded, or in other words, if you play against me, even if I'm on an Ash, you need to at least understand the ranges of the enemy's characters and understand the positioning, your positioning, and how to fade away specifically in a way that doesn't get you into the range of enemy characters. And she's actually challenging because her mobility, her fading mobility, I should say, is a very powerful tool. She does the evasion is very powerful, and you need to master that. And I think Torbjorn is easy because you just press E and you get 100 health immediately, and you're just faster and do more damage. And obviously your value comes from landing those headshots, which you need to do. But it's just you just spam chokes and you land headshots anyway. It's really not that difficult.
So
and for soldier,
I think the fallacy
I
we're
started
falling
a
into
poll
here,
out of
though,
spite.
is and I know what you're saying, Colonel. You're talking about the meta of the game and how individual matchups make things difficult and how those matchups influence high level play. What you're saying is true. You need to know all those things as Moira. You need to know all those things as.
But he's talking about things that are
character.
universal to playing Overwatch.
Yes.
None of this counters the idea that Moira is the easiest character in the game.
Yes. So
mechanically speaking, yes.
What I'm about to say though is that whether or not a character is easy to play and this is universal in almost all competitive games, has very little to do with how other characters counter your character in most circumstances. What we're talking about here is it hard to win a Masters ranked match as Moira when your team comp isn't optimal, or you're fighting against a soldier in some sort of bad situation and they punish you after you fade. That's not what makes Moira easy or hard. What makes Moira easy or hard is what Moira's intended game plan and interactions with the system cause her to do and how she interfaces with those systems. In terms of design, Moira is very, very obviously the easiest character in the game and is designed to be this way because the way she interfaces with the systems is extraordinarily straightforward. There's almost no nuance to how she does things. Yeah, so that's what we're talking about. Is it hard to beat a soldier when you're playing Moira at a master's rank when they can do all the things they need to do to specifically counter you? Sure. That doesn't mean she's not an easy character to pick up and play.
I mean, Moira is a support that does 100 damage per second.
She is the most easy character to make decisions with on a moment-to-moment basis, and I think most people, including high-level Moira mains, would agree, because her decision-making is very prescriptive. It is, oh, I don't have healing, I need to do damage, I do damage now. Oh, they're shooting at me, I fade. Oh, my team needs healing, I hold the other button down on my team. That's all. Oh, I need more, I push the ability. You don't even really need to monitor cooldowns. You don't really need to pay attention to things.
The fact that she's short range means that
in a game with team fights where you need to be with your team, if anything, that just helps you. That it's easy decision making.
The problem is, especially in Overwatch 2, in Overwatch 1 it was a little bit different, but because people used to play a lot together, and it was easier for Lucio as well. But in Overwatch 2, there's the value of the characters comes so much from flanking, so much more. Like, think of 2 DPSs and the optimal. Just tell me 2 DPSs at random.
I'm not going to, because that's totally irrelevant to the point, which is that yes, you get more value out of flanking. That doesn't change that playing a character and getting value out of them are 2 different things.
Okay, well, yeah, I suppose.
Like, that's what we're saying here. Is
Moira
that, like,
also is
yes,
able to react to flanking better than most characters can.
Yeah, like, if flanking is important, it does matter in winning games and doing damage and playing optimally. But yeah, like, every character needs to flank.
Range. Like, so often, I see, like, that's why Moira Ana, for example, is so good, because the Moira can focus on the tank and just help out, and then Ana can, obviously also heal the tank. Ana heals for 90 per second, which is absurd, but also can just all the DPS.
in this example, though, you're kind of proving the point, which is that in an optimal world, if Moira is making all the right decisions and playing the way that she should, then yeah, she's not going to try to fight the person that's flanking her that hard counters her. Her decision making is still simple. Like there's no moment to moment physics going on there. She's just draining the tank and healing her team. I think, and then she's fleeing.
I think she's very vulnerable. Like she's very more vulnerable.
That
just
comes with her kit, though.
Zen.
That's the whole point. Like, yeah, she's vulnerable. That's her downside, but it doesn't make her decision making any harder.
Moira has the strongest escape and self heal out of the entire support roster.
But if she escapes, she's not getting value.
Sure, but anyone,
she inherently gets value by escaping.
Yeah,
by not dying.
Her a lot of Moira's value is literally just from the fact that she's so hard to kill. That she just constantly just persists and keeps escaping and cycling. She has the strongest escape and self heal in the game.
But you have but you shouldn't be shooting her if she.
What else would make somebody harder to kill than having the strongest escape and self heal in the game?
It's the fact that she's vulnerable after that.
Everyone's vulnerable after they move.
Sure, everyone's vulnerable after they blow their escape cooldown and their heal cooldowns, I guess. Most characters don't have those to begin with. Most supports don't have both of those. Some of them don't have either of them.
I think
several supports cannot heal themselves at all, and about half of them don't have any form of escape whatsoever. Anna's best response is to hope she lands one cooldown that has a 10-second cooldown, and if it doesn't land or somebody else breaks it, then she just can't react to the problem, essentially.
Yeah,
Zen has no reaction besides popping off with headshots.
Yeah, that's the only way. On kicking as well.
Moira can disappear instantaneously, escape into a room with no indication of what room she even went into, and heal ball herself with a ball that has 50% more healing than she has health.
My thing is, whenever I see an enemy Moira, but like being a problem, all I have to do is wait for her to fade, and then she dies. And this happens reliably. And looking back at my time playing Moira, it's how I feed, is not being aware of how vulnerable I am.
Sure, this is why shouting cooldown usage and baiting cooldowns is so much of high level play and comms.
Yeah,
that's not the experience. That's not the gameplay experience any of us actually have.
This is also,
no one does call out cooldown usage.
Yeah, you just need to. I call out.
And just the fact that high level gameplay counters a character, and you can in fact beat the character in a game designed to be balanced, doesn't change the fact that she's incredibly easy.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, I mean, it's like saying
Sombra is easy because Sombra is easy if you're playing.
Sombra's like the hardest character in the entire video game. Sombra is objectively like top 3 hardest characters in Overwatch to play at all.
Sombra got me out of bronze. I was in bronze.
Sombra and Genji are both extremely high effort characters for relatively low value. Like they're specifically known for being not worth it.
I was in bronze 5 DPS learning the game, and bronze is the character that took me up to silver, high silver, and I was like having twice the one Sombra on bronze. I was having twice the damage of all of my DPS reliably. By the time I learned the game, that's how powerful Sombra was, because nobody counters her, nobody cares. Like the moment she blinks away, nobody hunts her down or anything.
You could be making the wrong decisions though. And it's just that they're not countering you, which is exactly what you're saying about Moira.
Exactly.
So it doesn't actually matter.
Yeah.
So your argument here doesn't make any sense for why she's
easy. My argument is that we can't base. Well, we can, because we are having a conversation, so we can say the perspectives that we want to say. But what I'm saying is, I think there's more to a character than just other people not knowing how to deal with them.
Yes, I agree. And most of that is the decision making you have to do, which is to say why Moira is easy to play and a character like Sombra is not, because you have to juggle more decisions to make.
I see.
It's also just not really a matter of knowing how to deal with her. It's just the fact that dealing with her is physically harder than her dealing with you in many situations. It's why it's just actively not fun to play against or be Moira in those like between matches deathmatch modes that kill time, because the Moira player isn't doing anything interesting because she's just throwing balls and right-clicking on people and winning fights for free. And when you fight against her, it's just deeply frustrating because you know that she has like so little decision-making or a skill shot to do, and you have to perfectly headshot her to kill her in time because she does 200 damage per second. I mean, she has 100 damage per second. She kills you in 2 seconds.
If she throws the ball, she does 200 damage per second. Yeah.
No, it's 100. The ball's 50 and she's 50.
The ball is... Oh, it's 100 total. Oh, I thought...
Yeah, it's 100 damage per second total, which means that most characters are dead in literally 2 seconds. And that's very tough. That's a very tough time to beat as many characters. Like, when you just, like, oh, fuck, a Moira's happening. And you have to react in time and react and land your shots and do the right thing. And oftentimes the right thing is escape the Moira because you will not win the fight.
Oh yeah, 100%. If you're a soldier, run away. If you're an Ashe, shotgun blast away. If you're like, you always need to put distance between you and her, and it's not like but the thing is, you already fucked up. If a Moira is diving you, there's already something going really wrong. And like, she can clean, that's why she cleans up easily, because once the team fight is lost, like, she just goes in and finishes everybody off because
they're she's a nasty little character with incredibly easy buttons.
And again,
but
it's like, easy for her to make that decision. Like, she just sees it happen.
Yeah, once the fight
you never press a button as Moira afraid to press it because you think you're gonna fuck it up and miss it or something. You're never gonna there's no like Ashe Dynamite or Sombra teleport or any other mechanic that you can completely fuck up. Like,
I save my healing balls.
All of Moira's mechanics are extremely easy to execute on and have very short cooldowns, so they also have massive uptime. So you basically you get to essentially spam them
when you do,
and you're extremely unlikely to just whiff any of her mechanics because her teleport is just the normal controls but better. Like, she just it does exactly what you want to do every time, basically. And the ball just goes in a straight line forever and then bounces. Like, you can fuck up the bounce in DVD screensaver logic a bit, but you're not going to be totally blindsided by what your ball does. So they're like the most reliable mechanics in the game.
But the thing is, soldier, all you have to do is keep in mind hardcover and the fact that you're in off angle. Take high ground when you can.
That's already more than most
people don't even use cover correctly until like plat.
They don't. I use cover correctly in silver. Come on.
Yeah,
and it doesn't get me like everybody saying, oh, all you need to do to climb is to take cover or take high ground. Wrong. That's wrong. That's false. Because your teammates are rubbish and they throw, and it's terrible. It's a terrible experience.
I'm going to use a Street Fighter example to explain something, just because it's a really great example. But like, I'm in Plat 3 in Street Fighter 6 right now. I can do 14 hit punish combos. I can do crazy stuff. I know exactly how to play all my matchups. I know every single time someone is going to jump at me, I need to anti-air. Other players will just jump at me. I'm in Plat 3. I am close to Diamond rank. I am within a grasp of the highest rank available in the game, and people still play the game wrong. People will play the game wrong always. It's irrelevant to what actually translates into like skill or even difficulty, right? Like, people just jump at me and they win sometimes. It's just gonna happen. No amount of that changes, I think, the individual risk reward inherent to doing things and making decisions as characters. So characters like Anna are always going to be inherently disadvantaged, even though they might be really great characters, are always going to have a harder time doing certain things because, like Keith said, Anna
it's probably the most difficult.
Yeah, she gets grouped up on. But what I'm saying is, like, what makes her difficult to play is that, like Keith said earlier, like, okay, Anna gets grouped up on. Her one choice to escape from someone is to hit them with a sleep dart. That might be the one thing that you do, sure, but that's a complicated decision. You can say Anna should never be in that position, but Anna will be in that position at some point. And it's hard decision.
Every time. The moment she throws a sleep dart, there's always a Genji jumping her or some. Exactly. Not always, but if the Genji.
So it makes it a conversation then that they have to make with themselves in a split second to say, is it worth it for me to sleep dart, or do I just die and respawn and then like be close to the base so that I can help defend the base during a team fight? Is it valuable for me to even engage my escape mechanic? There is a stop there that they have to make that decision. That's something like that someone like a Moira doesn't have to do, because she can just be like, oh, my health is going down, shift, and then you just like flee. And like, yeah, they can get punished after that. Obviously, there's counterplay to every single thing every single character can do, but there's no decision making.
Shockingly small 6-second cooldown for her fade.
Yes. Exactly. So it's like, it's not like you're depriving team of an important resource or doing something like that. You know, you throw a heal ball and fade around the corner.
Yeah.
That's why she's easy. Not
That's why she's infamously hard to kill, is because she has a 6-second fade, and then between every one of those fades, she can do a self-healing ball if she needs to. And it's always back. So she's alternating between a thing that makes her hard to kill every 3 seconds. And no other character plays that way.
I don't see her as being a hard to kill character. Like you say, famously hard to kill. I do not see that.
I don't know what else would be hard to kill besides a tank, like Roadhog.
Honestly,
healing every time you start damaging them or something.
Honestly, the hardest to kill, it depends on what you're playing, but the hardest characters to kill for me are Baptiste and Kiriko. The hardest support.
It's wild to me because Baptiste can't even heal himself.
He has an immortality field and he can shoot you dead. And he jumps away like a lot. If you don't have vertical mobility, he can actually jump away from you and just.
For me, the mobility is part of why he's so easy to kill, is because it traps him in a predictable arc. And so suddenly I'm like, my ass that can't aim can headshot him all of a sudden. Look at me go. And there's Ash videos you can watch where I just keep killing Baptiste every time he jumps because I'm like, there he is.
yeah. It's the same with Junkrat whenever he concussion mines into the sky. But the other thing about Baptiste is that he's a long range character, so it's a little bit like Ana in that regard, where the difficulty of killing an Ana is that you need to get to her, especially if you're not playing a long range character yourself. And with Ana as well, like I think Anas are difficult to kill, but mostly because whoever plays her all are
probably knows how to play Ana.
Yeah,
they're self-selecting to being a terrifying human being.
An Ashe, you're playing an Ashe. I see an Ana downfield, and I'm gonna kill that Ana. She kills you because she doesn't have drop damage. Like you need to be careful about that because she does 75 per shot, and if you have a little bit of damage already, 2 shots and you're dead. Like a Pharah, like I often, not oftentimes, but maybe half the time I am playing Ana against a Pharah, I force the Pharah to switch.
I'm most confident fighting Pharah as Ana because I know that I just need to land 3 shots.
3 shots, and this is amazing. It's beautiful.
And I can land them anywhere, specifically. So anyway, it's time for us to wrap this up. You guys can argue about these people in the comments. We're running late.
This podcast was unlistenable. If you made it this far, congratulations.
People are so excited about the nipple story. I know it.
You lost 2 hours, 2.5 hours of your life. I'm sorry.
You're gonna get fan art of Toaster with a sad nipple scar.
Please don't.
Just like a human bite mark.
Draw me doing anything else. It's okay.
Draw him biting back. Anyway, the results of the poll is 36% yes, 36% yes, 18% no on is Moira the easiest character in Overwatch. The rest is what? Because you always have to have a third option for not voting. So there's a 2-to-1 ratio on Moira being the easiest character in comparison to the entire cast of all of Overwatch, which is a pretty strong definitive margin for saying yes, probably. But anyway, see you guys next time. Send your questions. Dialog Choices Podcast. You can ask questions about Toaster's dick or whatever. Who knows?
What?
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.